everyone. Welcome to GameFace, episode 331 on Sifted Games at sifted.net. I'm Shane Satterfield, your host for the next couple hours of intense game discussion. Alongside me to do that are my co-hosts, Matt and Luna Kyle. What's up, Matt?
Come here. You're off camera.
Thought for a second we might be doing a live unboxing of PlayStation VR 2 today.
Yeah, the VR 2 was supposed to get here today, but like overnight they sent an email that said I had to check, but they're getting here tomorrow.
Yep.
But yeah, when it shipped on like Thursday or Friday, and it said it was going to be here today.
Oh wow,
so.
that's some slow shipping.
Some stuff is, some stuff isn't.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the good news is they are still getting it to you on launch day.
Yeah. I mean, I got a shipment of cookies a couple weeks ago that came from New Jersey, and it took 9 days.
Yeah, the mail across country is really bad right now. Like, really bad.
Yeah, so I don't
Stuff
know
goes missing. Like,
oh, yeah.
It's not good.
My mom sent me 2 birthday cards on the same day, and only one of them got to me.
The other one never showed up at all?
No, well, actually, it ended up getting returned for insufficient postage because she sends me those big pop-up ones, and I guess she finally found out it was too heavy to, yeah.
They sent it back for that? It's a joke. Anyway, welcome to GameFace. It's been a busy week. Nothing gigantic this week in games, but lots of games, nevertheless. We're going to talk about them on today's show.
More to really than I could play. Really.
Yeah, there was more than I could get to, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, I had a busy weekend, but there was some minor things that like, oh, I want to play that. It's a dumb early access indie thing that I'm going to have to convince Shane to even talk about. But it came out, and I did. Spaceborne 2 came out, which is like a weirdo. It's like, imagine something doing all the things Star Citizen says it's going to do, except it actually exists.
And you can actually play
it. Form, and it's made by like one guy.
Oh, geez.
It's crazy. It doesn't look as good, but it kind of plays a little better. Interesting. Just because like it has a flight model.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's some interesting. And I played I can't even remember. It's a sailor game. It's like a.
Oh yeah, we're gonna actually, if we get to that today, we're gonna talk about that in today's show as part of the Steam Next Fest. Yeah.
Oh okay, yeah.
Yep. If we get to it. We've not been making it all the way through the show the last few weeks. I've had a topic or two on the end of each episode for 3 weeks straight. We haven't got to week after week.
Well, there's no Harry Potter in this one, so we'll probably get
that
there.
Should save us about 90 minutes.
Saves us about 90 minutes, 2 hours. Yeah.
And just for the record, we are not talking about Hogwarts Legacy in today's episode, even though it's dominated the last 2 episodes of GameFace, and for good reason. There's obviously a reason for that. A couple things to get to in housekeeping before we get going. First of all, as we just mentioned, PlayStation VR 2 launches tomorrow, although if you're watching the archive of this, it's launching today on Wednesday. Matt, you pre-ordered yours direct from PlayStation, right? I think that was the only way
you could, as far as I knew. At least
Are they
at the time.
Going to be in GameStop and Best Buy tomorrow?
Well, I don't know if anything's going to be in GameStop anymore.
Yeah.
I don't know. I really don't know.
It's weird the way it's happening.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't been keeping abreast of how you pre-order it since I pre-ordered it 2 months ago from Sony, but I haven't seen anything about Best Buy hasn't sent me any spam mail about pre-order your PSVR 2 right now kind of thing. They always send me stuff like that because I bought consoles from them.
Yeah, we'll be covering PlayStation VR 2 next week because Matt will be getting it tomorrow and he'll be playing it all week, and we'll have a big discussion on it next week. But one thing to note before we get going with the rest of the show. Next week's show is not going to be on Tuesday. So as I mentioned a couple episodes ago, one of my very best friends died recently, and I am going back home to Pennsylvania for his memorial. So I will not be getting back into LA until Monday evening of next week. So we're planning on doing it Wednesday or Thursday of next week.
We also got to see if he brings the plague back.
Yeah, hopefully I don't get sick this time. But anyway, we're looking at doing the show Wednesday or Thursday of next week. As I always say, follow Sifted on Twitter at Sifted Games. That is the best place to know everything that's going on with the site. If the show's going to be delayed, what's going to be on the show, everything. Make sure you follow Sifted Games on Twitter and you'll know what's going on. Or if you're just at sifted.net every day, obviously you'll know what's going on there as well. So anyway, just again, a reminder, next week's GameFace will not be on Tuesday. I am going home to pay respects to one of my very best friends. Other housekeeping stuff for this week's episode. Redfall, the upcoming game from Bethesda, which will be the first, the first Bethesda game that is a part of Microsoft's big Game Pass plan, where they have exclusive first-party games only coming to Game Pass. They're saying now that the physical version, and now I get, obviously, the physical version of any Microsoft game going forward is a kind of its own little thing now, because, you know, if you have Game Pass, you're not going to be buying anything from Microsoft anymore. But the physical version of Redfall will just include a download code and will not include a game disc.
Yeah, there's just got to be no reason to buy physical copies of things.
Well, there is still. So I still buy physical, and this, I will say this is what will convince me to stop buying physical if this happens.
Well, yeah, there's no reason. There's no
at that
disc
point.
in the box. Yeah.
But however, like an example of where buying physical actually can be a help is with Hogwarts Legacy. And I knew we were going to talk about it, but I bought the physical disc version of Hogwarts Legacy, and I can give it to you and you can play it without having to contribute any money towards the game. So, you know, that is one thing that physical discs do. One, you have resale value. You can sell it back and get money. Two, you can loan it to your friends just like the old days, and you can both play the same game after one of you paid for it. So if this happens, I'm done. I think everyone will be done with physical media. There'll be no reason to have it. Why would they even sell that?
Because
it makes no sense.
I guess if you want a box, I mean, is it the... This is just like the general thing you'd find on a shelf, not just like the limited edition with a statue or whatever?
It's all versions of the physical version of the game, yeah.
All right. I mean, I guess it's just so you have something to sell at Walmart.
Yeah.
That's all.
Yeah. But why? I mean, I guess you might as well just sell a card, you know?
Yeah, but the card doesn't take up the same space on the shelf. Like, you want that case.
You do. I mean, if you're Microsoft,
no one looks at the
you
card.
want the case, but if you're Walmart, you want to get rid of that case and fill it with something else.
Sony discontinued their like gift card that were for specific games things, and I didn't even know those existed because I never look at those.
Yeah.
I'm looking at the game case.
Only at Christmas when I go to buy a bunch of gift cards for like my nieces and nephews or whatever do I ever look at that stuff. So this, you know,
Vincent says they changed their story.
Oh, now they're gonna put a real disc in there.
Well, no, Bethesda said it would include a disc.
Oh, so they are going to put a disc in there.
The standard edition has a disc.
Okay, good. That's good to hear. But I'm telling you right now, as somebody who buys pretty much all physical still, that is the stretch too far for me. That is what will keep me from buying physical. I have a feeling a lot of people would agree with that.
I think, well, you know, actually with the first physical PS5 game disc I will own is whenever they ship a Uden Chronicles.
No. Because you are a backer.
I'm a backer, and my thing is, I get a disc and a digital code.
I have a nice collection of PlayStation 5 games already. I probably have 25 PlayStation 5 games, physical games at this point.
I have none.
Yeah.
I don't think I do.
Yeah.
Nah, okay, I have the collector's edition of Last of Us, the remake.
No.
And I did have the physical version of Miles Morales, but I gave it to one of my friends.
Oh.
Because once I finished it.
So I usually end up keeping all my games, but if games that I really don't like and I know I'm not going to play again, I'll like go to try to sell them on eBay or whatever.
Yeah.
And one of those was Sonic Frontiers, and I could not sell that game at all for even $20, Matt.
That's because everybody has it.
One, a lot of people had it.
Anyone who cares about it
over the holidays, it was on sale for like $40. It is back to full price now, but it seems as if everybody who actually wanted it bought it at that discounted price. It's worth nothing.
Yeah.
So it doesn't always work out when you buy physical media that you can get some of your money back, but because generally the games that I like, I keep anyway. So
yeah, so do I. But also that's also why I kind of gave up. Also, like, you know, there's a thing where like, yeah, I did put in what was I putting in? I was putting in some Xbox One thing recently, and I had to just sit there while it installed the whole thing, and then how it downloaded all the updates, and I'm like, what's the difference?
Yeah.
I mean, it's like
I hear you. And you have to have the disc in when you play the game, and that can be a little annoying. But anyway,
I had Saints Row's disc in my Xbox for like 9 months, and I kept forgetting. It was in the system when I brought it up north for Christmas. I don't like to transport consoles with discs in them.
Yeah,
but like I completely forgot it was in there. How the hell did that game cost $100 million?
I don't know. But the times they are changing, people, and it won't be long that this will be the case, where they're going to stop putting discs inside physical games, and that's the day that I will cry. But until then, I'm going to keep buying them, and we'll see how long it lasts.
I don't know, man. I was a PC gamer, and that already happened.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I mean, it's been like that for decades at this point.
I mean, Steam killed that.
Yeah.
Like, I still have a handful of disc PC games
so do I.
that never went to digital. You know, like I have Battle for Middle Earth and Enter the Matrix, and like, you know, there's stuff that like never, you know, licenses usually that never came.
Right.
But
they don't want to relicense.
And freelance. How weird is it that Freelancer never came? That was Microsoft.
Yeah,
that game just vanished.
Yeah, it's odd.
So, but yeah. Other than that, like that just stopped. I tell tales now of going to Electronics Boutique in San Francisco, and you had a whole section of PC game boxes, and they all were different shapes for some reason.
Yeah.
What was the trapezoid
Towards the
ones?
end, they started making them the same size as like console games.
Yeah,
they were just a DVD dual case.
But I remember there was a whole
Dude,
big
the boxes
thing.
would be like this big.
Oh, the boxes were huge, and you have like one disc and a sleeve. But like when I remember when they
shake it, it was like a maraca.
But I remember when they went to like the DVD cases, and I had all my PC gamer friends were like, "That's terrible. Why are they consoleizing PC game?" I'm like, because no one wants to. It's the size of a fucking dinner plate. Nobody wants to sell a PC game that's bigger than your head.
Some of the collector's editions for PC were like this, too. They were just gigantic.
Well, they were like that because originally you had to hold, like, what, 40 3.25-inch discs in them? And now you don't need that anymore.
Yeah.
It was a
different world.
Yeah.
Yep. Let's see what other stuff we got here. Multiversus. If you remember, it's the WB-flavored Smash Brothers clone, free-to-play, that came out of the gate crazy strong. Everyone was like, oh, here we go. We have another fighting franchise on our hands that was going to sustain for years and years to come. It's dead already.
Nah, it fizzled real hard.
It has lost 99% of its audience already. 99%.
It didn't. They weren't feeding it content fast enough.
I think it's been 3 months since they added anything to the game. How do you fall on your... You had it. You got over the hump. You had won.
Yeah, but you're also Warner Brothers.
Yeah.
So
what the hell?
I mean, part of that is probably just whatever chaos is happening in the transition with the merger and Zaslav doing all the weird shit he's doing. Like, I'm sure all of that goes up to the top somehow. Like, the people making this game know that it needed to be a certain thing, and they were not able to do it because I'm sure of having their hands tied by all the weird shit happening to that company.
No, the starting roster in this game is pretty good.
Yeah,
so I think it does say a little something about the lack of staying power for the IP, maybe.
I don't know. I think you had it if you could keep adding characters and stages and kind of create a vibrant scene for it in at least in streaming tournaments or something.
What kind of cadence does a fighting game need, Matt, to be sustainable? Like, how often do you need some piece of DLC or content?
I mean, I think for something like this, where like I think you're right that the novelty of it is partly in the new combinations of different things. I think you're looking at like you got to have a new character out every couple of months minimum. Like you need to treat it more like Apex Legends than Street Fighter.
Yeah.
Like it's
the game as a service.
Yeah. And I mean, still Street Fighter 5, but
free
like
to play,
But also Street Fighter 5 was able to lean on the Capcom Cup stuff that was, a big deal several times. Every quarter you pretty much had a big, tournament series. Mm-hmm. And I just never saw this kind of become a tournament scene game even on its own. You don't have to necessarily integrate with like Evo or whatever, but like no one ever talked about it after it came out.
Yeah.
And like the fight, it's cool that the fighters they had were like, okay, LeBron's interesting. And like they had the Gremlins were cool. It's a cool, but also like the Gremlins are like Stripe and Gizmo are like things you do later after you've got all the big guys kind of in
play.
Kind
of like Ice Climbers in Smash Brothers.
Yeah, it's like it's cool that you did that, but like where and also I think people were expecting them to go a little more esoteric, a little weirder with stuff. Especially after Space Jam 2 had like some of the characters. Like there were people that were unironically thinking they were going to be Clockwork Orange characters in this game at some point. Which no, probably not. But you could have put like Neo,
or they could have
something like that.
The IP into the game in some way.
Also, I think at some point, like people just realize that this game just ain't that deep.
Yeah, like they realize it's not Smash Brothers.
Yeah, this does not have the staying power of Smash Brothers in part because like there's a point where you've just you've figured it out. Like Smash Brothers, for as much as I don't care about watching other people play it, still has enough variety and enough like depth to its combat that like you can be surprised by stuff even after thousands of hours of playing it.
The dream matchups in this
not there.
Are more palatable to casual players.
Somewhat.
The dream matchups in Smash Brothers are more palatable to the core players.
They are, but at the same time, I also think the fact that they have pigeonholed's not the right word really, but the fact that they have relegated all the characters to specific roles in how they play,
right.
I think that ended up being a a weakness in the sense of like people are going to look at a character that like they want to play, but see that the role is a role they don't know or don't understand or don't want to play, and then not pick that character they like.
That's a good point.
And obviously that's true of almost any fighting game character, like even Smash Brothers. Like you don't
even
play,
if they're not labeled.
You
as
play
such.
them all a certain way if you want to play them at a competitive level, but they're not labeled as that in the select screen. And I know they're trying to be helpful here, but I think that just intimidated people.
It's possible. Yeah.
Like you label somebody like Bugs Bunny is labeled as an expert level mage or something like that, and everyone, tons of people are going to look at that and be like, I don't even know what that means, So I think that it accidentally made it less user inviting.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. I think that's probably accurate.
But the real thing is they ran out of support for it.
Do you think it's going to go away?
I think it'll, limp
Less
along.
than 1,000 people playing.
I think it'll limp along for another. If they haven't canceled it by end of March, which is fiscal, it'll limp along for another couple of quarters at least.
And
I'm sure they have other stuff in the pipeline. It's just not happening fast enough.
And there's really no point to have a sequel to this game. I mean, it's a platform.
No, like how that's going to go.
Yeah,
like it happened.
So either
already.
they can sustain it, or it's just going to go away.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yep.
I mean, the other thing you could do, I guess, is you could do sort of a Smash Brothers Melee thing and make it more offline centered, more couch combat focused, and kind of drop the 2v2 focus and add like a big campaign or something. Like you could do like a Space Jam sort of thing, like or Who Framed Roger Rabbit style, like big mashup thing. But like that just feels. It feels like you're probably just throwing good money after bad at that point.
Yep. So anyway, Multiverse is right on the brink here of going away. So if you're someone who liked the game at launch and you want it to continue, you might want to start playing it again, because that stuff can matter. When their metrics are that low, even a little groundswell of players can make a difference. So
go log on and oh, hello, you're the only one today.
Yeah, you have no one to play against, unfortunately. You need 4 per match, so it could be tough. And then finally, the last little bit of housekeeping today is if you're a fan of Diablo, an open beta is on the way, which is great. The first open beta is March 17th through the 19th. And I'm glad this is happening in March, Matt, because we need content for March for GameFace. March is looking really light right now for game releases. So the 17th to the 19th, if you pre-ordered the game, you can get in on the open beta. And then for everybody else, it's March 24th to the 26th. It lets you play up to level 25, and you're playing from the beginning of the game. So your save transfers over. It's the way we always say they should do every freaking beta. So anyway, everyone's finally, in just a month's time, going to get a taste of Diablo 4, the real McCoy, not some goofy little mobile thing that everyone's going to lose their minds over. So that's pretty exciting if you ask me. Are you excited for Diablo 4, Matt, now that it's kind of around the corner? I am.
It's Diablo. You can't get to be more of a known quantity than that.
I like the genre, though, and I feel like I've been forcing myself to play weak facsimiles of that genre for years now, because I want to play it, and then I play it, and I'm like, this has the tenets of the genre, but no flourishes.
See, I feel like I prefer the other games in that genre to like Diablo is. There's an edgelord quality to Diablo that I just find a little tedious, and have always found tedious. But as soon as other games that did the same thing popped up, I tended to like them better. I like Torchlight better. I like Titan Quest better. I like Grim. Was that? Not Grim. Is it Grim Dawn? Grim Dawn. I like Grim Dawn better, which is also the Titan Quest guys. Path of Exile is great. Like I think most of those other games, the Diablo likes, they tend to have more interesting. They tend to have more interesting like spins on things than I think the last two Diablos have had. And
Diablo has played it safe here for a while.
Three, I know why it's there, and I understand because of the focus on endgame and ladder play and all that, why it's part of it. I hate the upgrade system Diablo 3 introduced, where you just switch between your abilities however you want.
You didn't like that.
I like a character that you commit to a skill tree and build them a certain way. And when I can just switch around on whatever, and everything feels kind of strangely similar, and everything's kind of designed to interact with. Like, part of the thing I like about those games, and especially Diablo 2, was the puzzle of figuring out what synergized with everything else. And now I feel like the modern way of doing that Blizzard does just sort of like, who cares? Like, you'll figure it out. Like, you do it, and like, I get you want the freedom to like mess with your character based on what you're gonna do, but also that's because the game is so focused on end game content and post game content, and like it feels like Diablo. A lot of those games have, but I feel especially Diablo is like, yeah, we know the main campaign is just like an afterthought to most people. It's just a thing you burn through to get to the grind, basically. And I hate
that's what I care about.
And I hate the grind.
Yeah, right.
So like to me, I'm just like, I'd rather do something like Titan Quest, which the main campaign is a grind, but also it's huge and there's a bunch of stuff to do and it takes you a lot of different places, and it doesn't, if you want to play New Game Plus and go through it again, you can do that. But like, I don't know. Diablo just feels like it has shifted. Diablo feels too much like an MMO to me now.
Yeah, it does kind of. I agree.
And I get why they did that. I'm not saying they were wrong to do that. I mean, obviously, World of Warcraft was the hotness when Diablo 3 was in development, and like it made sense to kind of move it more in that direction. And I certainly don't.
I mean, you saw that with Diablo Immortal.
The other thing I have a problem with Diablo is I have always had trouble finding a character class I liked and cared about. And I liked the Necromancer, and then Diablo 3 came out, and I didn't like any of the character classes that came out with that. Like, I went with a Sorcerer and kind of lived with it, but I didn't like the Sorcerer very much. Mm-hmm. Wasn't interested I hate the Barbarian. I like the bow-based Amazons, but they weren't around. I just find none of their classes sing to me.
Okay.
Except the Necromancer, and I was glad they added that to 3. And I actually did go through and finally finish 3 when they added the Necromancer, because that's although again, I didn't like the way they did the Necromancer in 3. I liked the army of skeletons thing, and how you got more and more and more and more. And in 3 it was more like, oh, you can have skeletons, or you can have golems, or you could have you can't have all of them. I mean, come on, dude. And I'm like, no, that's the whole fucking point. Like, it's just Diablo has really just sort of become a little gray to me.
I'm excited for Diablo 4. I'm pumped. I can't wait for
I'm gonna have Jedi Survivor and Zelda, and Starfield is gonna be the same month as Diablo, unless something goes horribly wrong, and it might.
It might.
But like, it looks like June 29th is the date for that, judging by some leaks.
Yep.
And I just don't see a world in which I care to stop playing those games to play Diablo instead.
We'll see how it goes.
I mean, I'll play the beta because there's nothing else fucking happening.
Yeah. Again, don't forget, March 17th through the 19th if you pre-order, and March 24th to the 26th if you do not. Everyone will be able to get a chance to play it, and that's the good news. Everyone will be able to try it, a big chunk of it, before they have to plunk down their money for the game. And I think Blizzard probably kind of needed to do that after Diablo Immortal, even though I actually enjoyed Diablo Immortal.
Diablo Immortal wasn't bad. I mean, I didn't care in the end, but like, it's not like it felt bad to play. It felt like Diablo. It was... Yep. It was fine.
I think the late game, the grindy stuff, is where things flew off the rails. But for people like us, like, we played the campaign, and I was like, I liked the campaign, and I was out.
Yeah, but if you look at like the main fan base, just they don't even think about the campaign.
It's different.
Like, that is just a thing to. It's like the tutorial to us in a normal game.
It's true. Yep. Okay, let's check in with you guys before we get the show going and see what you're saying. Swanland says, "Oh, by the way." Thanks, Swanland. He's the guy who provides all the prizing, the games for Name That Game. So if you've won Name That Game, you guys, some people ask me when they win, like, who supplied the game? Swanland. He's in chat right now. If you're in chat, thank him, because he's the one who supplied the game that I ultimately passed on.
Resident Evil 4 is next month.
Yes. Yeah, I guess there is one decent game. Yeah, it's
near the end.
Like at the end of the month, yeah. Let's see what you guys are up to today. Oh, look, we have a likely ban evader restricted. Pitched shriek. Hi, I want to offer promotion of your channel. We're getting spammed. Yeah. Does that mean that we made it to the front page of Twitch?
No.
Because we usually don't get these people in our stream. No,
that's not common, but...
Yeah. Darmist, thank you for Twitch Prime. That is awesome. AJ the Legend Watson is asking if there's any coming back for the Multiverses franchise. I think we kind of answered that already. Commander Fed, I think the last physical PC game I bought that came out with a disc was The Witcher 3. So it's been like 6 years for him since he's bought a physical game. I'm definitely in the minority.
Yeah, well, Witcher 3 that was 8 years ago.
Yeah. So. AJ the Legend Watson, thank you for Twitch Prime. That's awesome, man. We appreciate it. Erebus Jones, it's an online only game that's going to be patched within the day it comes out, rendering the disc pointless. Is this even a big deal, even if it were true? But it's not.
He's talking about Redfall.
Yeah, I totally get it. I mean, I still buy physical games. So if they're going to just put a download code inside a physical box, that makes a difference to me. Absolutely.
It makes a difference in the sense that you're paying for them. I mean, I don't get. I mean, I agree with Erebus Jones. Like, if it's that online focused, who gives a shit what's on the disc?
But the updates are free. So,
yeah, but if the update,
so there's still value to.
But what I'm saying is, if the digital version goes away magically one day, so do the updates.
Yeah.
Like, that's all. It means the infrastructure for that, the PSN or whatever is gone.
Yeah.
So you're going to be stuck playing whatever broken crap is on the disc, which I don't care about. So it's not like the old days where, like, hey, I have that shelf of like hundreds of PS2 games. All those games are going to be exactly the way we played them back in the day because there were no updates.
Yeah.
Like, I'm saying, like, if the digital copy of something goes away somehow, so do all the update stuff. And, like, too bad. Like, and I don't mean like being delisted so you can't buy it anymore. I mean, I bought it, I have it, and for some reason in the future I can't download it for some reason. And but it doesn't happen. It literally doesn't happen. I can't think of an instance of owning a digital copy of something and then it goes away. Also, like, you buy the online stuff, yeah. Like, I mean, I have a disc copy of Shadowbane. I can't play that anymore because it's an MMO. It went away. Like, those games don't have it. I still have my disc copies of City of Heroes, hoping that one day someone might resurrect that shit.
Right.
But they're not gonna. But that disc is a coaster. Like, it's useless.
Yeah. Okay. Hey Deanie 23, thank you for Twitch Prime. Wampler 13, thank you. Mazoren, thank you for Twitch Prime. Don Lionheart, thank you. Lots of people getting in here at the end of the month. That's surprising. The Big Smoke 82, thank you. Listeved, thank you for gifting all these tier 1 subs to people in our chat. You are awesome. Wow, lots of tier 1 subs. Thanks, man. Everyone else thanking him as well. Well, what else we got here? Swanland, we took in my brother's cat the other day. It wasn't working for them. Cat is such a sweetheart, though. Oh, awesome. Thank you for taking him in instead of sending him to a shelter. That's awesome. Or her. The Big Smoke 82. We're looking forward to Shane's opinion on PlayStation VR 2, as I had a very similar experience with you as PlayStation VR 1, as it always made me sick. Well, I will not have my impressions for next week's show. Matt will. And then once Matt burns out on PlayStation VR 2, then I'll take it home for a couple days and see if it makes me nauseous or not. Hopefully not, but I'm not holding my breath. Iviz, thank
Holding your breath is not going to help.
I've tried it. It doesn't help. Iviz, thank you for Twitch Prime. That's awesome. Call of Duty 1. Henry Pumpkins, thank you for Twitch Prime. You guys are all awesome. Then just lots of reminders about the fact that there will be a disc inside Redfall now. It is funny how often... Fire Native, thank you. Glenn Rock, thank you. Amusix, thank you for jumping into chat for the first time. That's great. Welcome. And I think it looks like that's it. Minority Games, thank you for subscribing at tier 1. 49 months. That's amazing, bro. Okay. I think we're ready to kick off the show proper, but before we do, we have to thank our sponsor, LS Cream. I think the most important thing about LS Cream is that it's made by a fellow sifter. That's right. In fact, Listeved, as I call him, real name, Steve Dean.
Yeah, he's in there making it JM Rain.
He is making it JM Rain. That's right. He is the founder of LS Cream. He is a sifter.
I mean, unless you want to count his grandma.
Right,
It's her recipe.
Yeah. He is a sifter. He is a gamer just like you and I. Go out and support him. LS Cream, you may not know, is inspired by an ancestral recipe from Haiti called Cremas, or is it Cremos? Cremas, I think, is the correct way to say it.
I would guess
he
Cremas.
talked about it when he was here visiting with us. It's also a double gold winner for its original taste at the New York Wine and Spirits International Competition. So it has awards around its neck. And Matt, I went to a Super Bowl party, and I took a bottle of LS Cream to the Super Bowl party. And I got there, and it's my rich friend. So he is living in a mansion. He's got his pool in the back. He's got caterers with the liquor. I just walked up, and I just put the LS Cream down with the other liquor and didn't say anything to anybody. Mm-hmm. And just left it there and watched. And I overheard somebody say, "What is this cream liqueur?" And I walked over, and I'm like, "That's LS Cream. I brought that for the bar." And the guy made a drink with it. He loved it, and it turned into like a thing at the Super Bowl party. Mm-hmm. So if you're a fan of Bailey's, this is better. It mixes up drinks great. I can't say it enough. So head to
Also, every time I bought it at Bevmo, the clerk comments on how cool the bottle looks.
Oh, yeah?
3 different clerks have done them. I'm like, oh, what is this? The bottle's cool. I'm like,
that's something to say at Bevmo, because
they see all the bottles.
They see all the bottles.
But no, that happens every time.
Yep. If you want to find out where to buy it, head to creamls.com. There's a store locator there. It also tells you the whole history behind the liqueur. Like I said, support your fellow sifters. All right. With that, it's time to kick off GameFace 331. We're going to start with a game that Matt and I, at least personally, I would say, I've not played it as much as I would like to before I talk about it.
It only went
GameFace.
live at like 9.
Yep.
And it turned out it was still downloading part of it. It was one of those things where, like, oh, you can start it now, but we're going to download another 60 gigs later. And it turned out that when I don't know if you played this before it was done installing, but if you haven't fully installed it yet, you can only play up to the point where you get in the car.
No, I didn't know.
It won't let you open the car door.
Oh, no, I didn't.
And it says, like, available in the full version of the game. And I'm like, is this a demo? What's going on? Like, and I'm like, oh, it must not be done. So I waited, and then it let me do it.
And that game, by the way...
So you don't even get to see any combat.
Right.
If you don't have the full install. I don't even know why the ready to start thing exists.
I don't either.
It's sometimes it's such a short...
It's not worth it.
Like, there's no way anyone's going to be done downloading the other half of the game by the time they get through this part.
Yeah.
What are you doing?
Well, the game, we should have told you off the top, is Atomic Heart. It is on Game Pass on both PC and Xbox, but it's also available on, let me make sure I get this right, PC, PlayStation 4 and PlayStation 5, Xbox One, and Xbox Series X.
Yeah.
Although I will say this, and you're going to see in this B-roll, having played it, I'm surprised it's not next-gen exclusive.
Yeah, I would have believed it was next-gen exclusive if you told me.
Yeah, because it looks damn good.
Yeah, there's a lot of intricacy happening.
You're going to see in this B-roll here, it's going to make your eyes pop. It is, I guess the best way I would describe it, Matt...
Soviet shock.
Yeah, it's BioShock set in an alternate USSR.
Yeah, which, by the way, was one of my original ideas. Like, I was always... When someone's like, oh, what a new... Because I was always disappointed that BioShock 2 took place in the same city. And I go, what would you do? I'm like, they need to do one that's a big parody of, like, American... stuff, and they need to do one that's a big parody of like Cold War communist stuff.
Yeah.
And for me, I would have set this is in the sky, and like then also you end up on the ground later.
Yeah.
But I would have set my USSR satire. I would have set that underground near a volcano. But this is basically this is BioShock in all but name.
Yeah.
In terms of like the concept, like the elevator pitch for this is absolutely BioShock with Soviets.
Yeah. It's set in an alternate Soviet Union where it didn't crumble, and instead it became the pinnacle of human existence.
Well, specifically, it's a Soviet Union where in the 30s it invented basically a magic technology that solves all problems called polymers.
Yep.
Which basically like gave it the edge in the war, and they basically invented magic, cyborg, ultra computing, cloud like all at once, and like AI. Like it's so they have androids and robot everything, and you have this glove that can talk to you and manipulate things with like telekinesis, and it's the whole thing is basically magic. Almost. It's so advanced, but it also has sort of that 40s, 50s era diesel punk sort of.
I mean, it looks like BioShock. Let's just be honest.
Like, I mean, you can definitely see like this.
You can see the inspiration.
You can definitely see Columbia and this city having a fight.
Look at these shots here, though. Like all the
really
polys
cool.
that it's pushing, like.
And you can sit here and watch this parade go by, and it doesn't really change. It's all just like it's huge crowds of robots and little platforms with dancing robots on them. It doesn't really change, but it's still a really impressive like.
It makes a really
display.
strong first
like it
impression.
sets the tone for sure.
Yeah,
like you're like, okay, yes, I know where we are.
Yeah.
Thank you. So all these some of these statues are like Marx and Lenin and stuff, but a lot of them are like the fictional scientists who invented this stuff and basically are credited for basically are credited for the success of the Soviet experiment, so to speak. Yeah. And all menial and manual labor is done by robots. Like you see them like sweeping there. All the kiosks are manned by robots that are like incessantly cheerful but have no facial expressions. Yeah. They're like
which means they didn't have to animate.
I do not understand this room at all. Why are these two jets like plowing into the ground?
I think this is something that you maybe learn about later.
Maybe like you come get this thing from these two robots and then they leave, which is actually
you leave immediately.
Yeah, and also these are two of the only robots with boobs.
Oh, really?
Almost none of the others are all very sexless. In fact,
you're right, actually.
In fact, I was kind of surprised at how sexless this game was until I ran into the upgrade
The vendor,
kiosk.
yeah.
The upgrade. I'm like, okay, I guess that's where all that went.
Shiniki's asking, did the BioShock people make this? No. This was made in Russia, actually.
Yeah, a Russian developer called Mundfish.
It's the first game
who turns out the
Moonfish,
Stalker 2 developers do not like very much.
which makes me nervous.
Yeah.
So there's that, and we'll talk about that at the end of our discussion, the whole Russia angle with this. Obviously, with what's going on with Putin invading Ukraine, we are firmly behind Ukraine. And so there's some things about this game that made me a little bit uncomfortable, but we'll get into that again at the end. So what happens, though, to set the plot in motion is that the robots basically take over.
Yeah. There's a robot revolt.
The robot revolt. And
it seems to have been, actually, because this is like where this is bizarre. Like this little, like, flying pig robot
where
thing.
It picks up your car.
Picks your car up and flies you down to the surface of the... Also, the one thing I did, like, you know, this is a flying city, like, that's dedicated to science. It's like a lab/living area. And, like, you fly out and go down through... It's really cool. Like, you fly out and go through all the other flying things around there, and you go down through the clouds and land on this, like, big complex where the main game takes place. And everyone's like, at the beginning of the game, everyone's looking around, walking around, going like, "Oh, it's such a beautiful day." And so, like, if you're above the cloud line, that is fucking freezing.
Yeah.
Like,
it's
no one would be having a good day
below
here.
Zero,
That's not unique to this game. Columbia.
I don't think realism is this game's forte.
Not so much.
Let's be honest.
Not so much. you could just say they polymerize the weather around the city or something, I guess, because that's the word they use for when you get cyborgized in this game.
Yep. You play as Agent Bootlicker P3, and he is a Soviet bootlicker.
Oh, he is a true believer. No question.
He is dyed-in-the-wool
but also
USSR.
Uses a lot of modern American slang.
Yeah.
And
that wasn't around back then.
It wasn't around then. And everyone in this game is a dick.
Yeah.
Like, it's so, like,
it's hard to find characters to relate to.
Yeah, he is,
sure.
the main character is, like a lot of the voice acting is bad.
The voice acting in this is pretty terrible.
And not like...
Yeah, in general.
But it's like, you're listening to it and you're like, it's not like anyone's performance is wrong. It's more like, it's just like, the tone is everywhere.
It's off.
Like, and it's like no one realizes they're in the same game.
I don't think that they were watching the footage of the game when they recorded the VO.
Probably not.
So I don't think that they had
any kind of like reference to it.
point for it. Yeah.
Well, also, like, a lot of the passerby and a lot of the like incidental stuff, it feels like it's from a different game. Like, like it feels like it's from the game I'd expect a System Shock set in this kind of situation to be, whereas like the main character is running around calling everybody a crispy critter.
Yeah,
and I do not. That's like his catchphrase is calling people crispy critters, and I'm like, what does that fucking mean?
I don't know,
like,
dude.
He'll do things where he'll be like, oh, it's amazing. What we can do is technology is incredible. That's fantastic. And then like the glove will say something because it's like AI can talk, and he's like, fuck you, shut the fuck up. You're like, what? Like he runs to say he runs hot and cold
like a
is
month that we played that has a sentient object.
Yeah, but I'll tell you this: Forspoken is way better performed.
Oh, the writing and the voiceover way better.
Like,
than the ARM.
You feel that actually in this game, I constantly feel like I'm hitting some kind of cultural barrier. It feels like when they translate stuff from like the old JRPGs, and you'd be like, I don't know what that means, and like years later, you'd find out it was just like a badly translated idiom or something. And in this, I feel like there's a bunch of stuff about like Russian culture I don't understand, and like it's being translated poorly into English, and that's what the disconnect is. Like, it feels like I'm playing a bad translation a lot of the time, even though clearly the voice actors speak fluent English.
Oh yeah.
There's a lot of weird shit. And like, actually the robots are pretty well done because they don't have any inflection.
Right.
Like, it's very strange. Like, you constantly feel like you're on drugs or something. Like, it's hard to tell what the game is trying to say, to the point, and we'll probably get to this later, but like, I'm like, I can't tell if this game is in favor of the Soviet stuff or not. Like,
I mean, so far what I've played, it appears that it is in favor of
sort
it.
of,
Who knows
but
what happens at the end if they have an epiphany?
Yeah, I don't know,
or
but it feels like there's no way you set this character up as the big true believer, no doubt guy without him being horribly disillusioned at some point.
Yeah.
But I mean, obviously very early days. But like, I don't know. Like, even this early in the game, I've learned to not expect anything normal out of this.
I'll say that having played 4 or 5 hours of it, I'm a little nervous that it's not going to get there. I'm hoping that it does by the end. There's a realization in the game at some point. We'll see. So as I said, you play as Agent P3. As Matt mentioned, he has a snarky, sentient, AI-powered glove. And the glove gets upgrades throughout the game. There's an upgrade machine that you stumble across.
The glove is basically the tonics in the Bioshock. It's your superpower glove.
It's the superpowers that you get. Like the first one that you get is like a shock ability.
It shoots lightning. It shoots frost. It can hover, pick things up and throw them.
Yep.
It can create a shield.
Yep.
Like it's the Bioshock part.
Yeah, if you played Bioshock, it's just a different vehicle to deliver all the supernatural abilities.
So you have your weapon, you have guns and melee weapons, and you also have the powers of the glove, just like the tonic. So it's Bioshock. And
you just saw right there. See those green like columns? That's another important element, not just of this universe, but of the game. It's this like gelatinous substance that you can swim in.
Yeah, it's the polymer.
Yeah,
it's like congealed version of the polymer, and you can swim through it.
Then you actually get in it, and like there's sections of the game where you have to like figure out your way through the polymer. It can be a little confusing at times. It's
weird
easy to get turned around for sure. And then melee is a big part of this game.
Unfortunately,
and Matt, for some reason I've missed it, but. Like, I played almost the whole time I played it without realizing that
there's the dodge. There it is, right there. Dodge. It pops up while you're fighting the first group, so you're not...
That's how I missed it.
Because you're not looking over there, because you're looking at the guys trying to kill you.
I had missed it. I played this whole thing, and I accidentally stumbled upon the fact there was a dodge.
It's really... The UI is really bad in a lot of ways. Like, not just that. It's like, stuff pops up while you're doing other things and disappears, and there's not necessarily a way to go find it again. When you're collecting stuff, so you can pick up those little pocket watches that are like the audio logs, because again, it's Bioshock.
Yep.
But if you don't activate that to let it play, it just stays. It's like this little red box, and it just stays there, and all the other stuff you're picking up pops up underneath it, so you can't see what you're picking up.
Yeah, the UI is
there's a lot of overlap text. It's very messy in places. It's surprising, really. You don't see that much anymore.
Yep. But your objective is to quell the robot uprising and clear all the robots out of Facility 3826. And that's the overarching goal. Now, as you play along, things become complicated. You meet new people. Objectives change. But that is the primary goal that you're trying to accomplish throughout the game. Now, the initial sections of this game that Matt and I have played through, this game is those parts are a survival horror game. Mm-hmm. So you have a shotgun, you have melee, you search through all the cabinets and stuff, you get like one shotgun shell. So they limit the ammo that you get. You can't overuse the shotgun. You get more
pretty fast, but I have not used the shotgun yet.
Really?
No,
You're just using melee.
I'm just using the axe.
Oh, yeah. I got to a certain point where I got tired of the melee combat because it's clunky.
It isn't good. The feedback is bad. I love that so many of them have this stupid mustache. But like, the melee combat is fine. Like, I bet it's like you can get through it, but like there's not enough feedback when you get hit. So like a lot of times you'll be low on health before you realize you've been taking hits because the range of the enemies is a little wonky. The range of your own weapon is pretty wonky.
Well, the robots, some of them will run at you and drop kick.
Yeah,
they can hit you. And the other thing too is if you get hit like twice or 3 times, you're dead.
Mm-hmm. Like, that's what the dodge is for.
It only takes a couple of shots from the robots to kill you. So the initial part of it, a
couple of good hits.
It feels like a survival horror game in a lot of ways. But at a certain point, the game cracks open and it becomes an entirely different game. Then it becomes an open world.
Yeah, it's actually open world once you get out of that first facility.
But then the open world is mostly comprised of like puzzles. Once you get into the open world, it's not.
Yeah, and they hint at you early on. You're like, there sure are a lot of different locks in this game, and you're like, "What is this?" And like, "Oh, okay."
Like there's puzzles on
somebody
the doors.
Like The Witness.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, there's door locks that there's like 4 or 5 different variations. of the puzzle.
There's key ones where he makes a bunch of cookie jokes.
Yeah,
which is like what?
I don't.
The tone of this game is so weird.
It's inconsistent. Yeah, it's hard to put and again. It turns into a different game. At first, you think you're playing this very linear survival horror game where you have to manage all your shotgun shells.
Yeah, you think you're playing like a Bioshock.
Yeah, and they also try to make you do stealth in the early part. And as it turns out, screw the stealth.
No, it's totally useless.
I just blow up the cameras and just fight the guys.
And I blew the stealth the first time they tell you to do that. You're like, sneak up and I'll take them out. The gloves, like, sneak up and I'll take them out. But it doesn't tell you you're immediately going to have to hammer B.
Right.
And I wasn't, and I couldn't tell what the thing was trying to get me to do.
It's a QuickTime event.
It's a QuickTime event, but I just pressed B, and then I realized, like, oh, you want me to press it a bunch more time, and then all of a sudden it was over, and the thing attacked me, and I never got to do a stealth kill. So,
and then you realize they were pointless, and you just started killing the robots.
Like, what doesn't matter?
They see you so easily.
Oh, they see you.
They're
from
like
way
on
far.
hyper. They can see you from like 100 yards away, and they'll come running at you and drop kick your ass.
and what was like you have the scan thing that you get early on where you you hold your
the L with
like
your
an
fingers.
L, and he makes some reference when that happens. Like he makes some comment about like that it's clearly some kind of cultural reference to something. It's like an evil eye reference. And I'm like, I don't know what that is.
I don't either.
I'm like that. I know like evil eye stuff is a big Russian thing, but like I think this is supposed to be like you dispel it or something.
Maybe.
But like, no, I don't know what that. But like, that's the joke, and it makes no sense if you don't have any idea about that.
The scanning in this, I'm not quite sure what it does. It turns everything black and white.
It just tells you where anything electrical or anything Android is, and like it can be helpful. But it's like, initially I thought I was going to be using that sort of like Last of Us to like tell where people are when I'm trying to stealth around them. But there's no way to stealth around them most of the time. You just need to know where they are. I mean, I guess I use it to know where I can pull some guy in.
So I stopped scanning.
Well, you can scan to see if there's like stuff still in like containers you haven't found, because like when you're going around rooms and like sucking everything out of the drawers, sometimes it's hard to know if you got them all.
Yeah.
But like that's about it.
That's it.
Like,
yeah.
And you can see where androids are. I guess like sometimes I use it to see where the androids are, so I don't like pull more than like 2 at once, because then you're sort of in trouble.
Yep. As we said, you can upgrade your arsenal. You can upgrade. Trees are pretty simple. They're not gigantic.
No, they're you can upgrade stuff pretty fast, especially the weapons.
Yeah.
It's really a matter of getting the blueprints and recipes, which do seem to be sort of placed intentionally in place. I feel like that's designed, not random.
And there's a female voice that is inside the upgrade stations. They're basically like soda machines that you find, and she's obsessed with sex.
Yeah.
She just talks about sex.
But then sometimes you find them and she's like, "Oh, I'm glad to see her," and you're like, "What?
Yeah.
What happened?" She's like, "Just done every time. You
lost your libido."
Yeah.
It's interesting to
come back later. And
but the upgrades are noticeable, worthwhile. Unlike there's some games that I've been playing this week where that was not the case, where I got upgrades and I'm like, wait a minute, did this do anything? So they're meaningful, and I guess some people have said that like as you play the voice at the stations tones down the rhetoric eventually. Maybe we've already reached that point.
I mean, that was the second one I went to. She was no
so
longer super horny, so I don't know.
It's already headed in that
And there was
direction.
even a dialogue option to ask what the deal was, that she wasn't like that anymore, and then didn't really answer anything.
Yep.
Which is most of the dialogue in this game.
Yeah, so as Matt mentioned earlier, you get a bunch of powers that you can use with the sentient glove. There's telekinesis, there's electricity zaps, there's a frost, was there anything else?
There's a shield.
The shield. Yeah.
I can't remember. There's another one, but I can't remember what it was. Oh, there's an enhanced telekinesis. Like you can enhance the throwing object stuff.
Yep.
But I haven't done that yet.
And as we said, the game tries to force you to use stealth, but it's a joke. There's really no point in doing it. The enemies are just simply too alert and too deadly.
Here's the stealth.
Yeah, there it is. Yep.
And here's where the bee pops up, and I don't, what do you want?
Yeah, I managed to actually hit it.
No, you didn't. There you go.
Oh, was that too late?
That failed.
Yeah, I still had to kill him with the axe.
That's exactly what happened to me.
Because what's going to prepare you for that? And it wasn't just hit bee. It's
hammer bee.
Yeah, hammer bee. Yeah. It's
and the glowing red circles mean they're doing a strong attack.
It's unblockable.
And you can it's just more damaging if it hits you. It can knock you down.
Yeah.
So that's what it teaches you to try to dodge more than anything.
Use the RB in this game.
You can see here as you're picking stuff up, and you've got the red. You can see the inventory stuff popping up behind the audio log thing.
Oh yeah.
So it all is overlapping text.
You can't read
and stuff. Like what?
This game has some Eurojank.
Yeah. Yeah.
It just does. The other thing I would say too is the early part of the game that we mentioned is like survival horror, which is what you're seeing in this B-roll here. It does become a little monotonous because what happens is you fall down like this elevator shaft down to the bottom of this underground facility, and then the objective, you have to fight your way back up to the surface.
Yeah, but there's a bunch of stuff where it's like, okay, do this, get up here, do this, climb over this, and then they just knock you down again. And it's just like so much stuff happens that's completely out of your control early on that it's shocking when you get out and like, oh, you just want me to wander around now?
Some of it's copy and paste. I've been into rooms where the two rooms are like basically identical.
And the only way you know it's a different room is you haven't opened all the drawers
yet. You haven't opened the case yet. Yeah, so the early part of this game, it does drag a little bit. Again, it starts strong with that crazy walk-in where you see the world for the first time. Mm-hmm. But once you actually start playing the moment-to-moment stuff in this, it does start to wear out its welcome a little bit before you finally make it up to the surface.
The comparison to BioShock Infinite continues.
It does. Actually, you're right. It's a very accurate analog.
I would say the hitting things with melee in BioShock Infinite is more satisfying than this because you definitely feel that.
I also wrestled.
Like I know when I hit some. I mean, some of the times like they fall over and like you see their limbs come off and stuff. But like,
oh, dude, if you hit them with the axe, it marks them.
Yeah, it's
there's some cool stuff in this game.
There is. Like that's why it's so weird and frustrating. Is like
I know. It's like these little flashes.
It's like less than the sum of its parts in a weird way.
Yeah, I'd agree with it. It fails to congeal into a cohesive whole.
Yeah,
it's all these cool little disparate elements that just never work together in any meaningful way.
Get another cutscene that knocks you all the way down after trying to make progress.
Yep, enemies are damage sponges. Like you saw some of that combat. How many times you have to hack them with the axe to kill them? Mm-hmm. Like. To me, it got a little ridiculous after a while. And if you get attacked by more than a couple enemies at once, you're basically dead. At least in the early going, you really have no chance of survival. Like, the most I've been able to handle at once was 3. Anything more than that, forget it. Mm-hmm. At least in the early going, anyway. As I said, ammo is scarce in the early going. It's very much like a survival horror game in that way. You can't just unload your gun. You have to use it strategically, only when you're in a pinch, pretty much. For the most part, you want to use your axe. Getting health replenished is also very scarce. So, if you can't just run all
early on, there's a lot of it, but eventually you're like, oh, it's kind of
suddenly it just kind of disappears. Yep. And as you've seen in the B-roll, there's lots of rummaging to be done in the myriad cabinets that you find. But as I said, a lot of times you rummage through a whole room of stuff and you'll find one shotgun shell. Mm-hmm. So it's not like they're going to overload you with the resources. And then there's, most of the enemies that you fight, they do get repetitive because you're fighting the same humanoid robots over and over and over again. There are some like airborne bots that you have to fight that come out of nests that you have to kind of incapacitate to keep them from respawning. Mm-hmm. There's all that kind of stuff in the game.
That's what you do not want to use the axe for.
No, definitely not.
You can make all kinds of new weapons, but like you got to have the materials for it. Which is,
yep, and that's what all the rummaging is for. I'll say this though, this studio, Matt, Mundfish, it's a studio to watch.
Yeah,
this is its first game.
Yeah, you're definitely looking at kind of a Spiders thing here.
Yeah,
it's like give them a couple more games.
Yeah, I don't know if it'll ever get over the hump because Spiders still hasn't managed to. But this is already a more auspicious start than anything Spiders has done. I mean, I would argue. As far as like technical proficiency and creating an interesting world and all that kind of stuff, like to me, Mundfish is ahead of Spiders in those regards.
I mean, I think they're ahead of Spiders, and if you compare their first games, Mars Warlogs and this, but I think Spiders is ahead of them overall in terms of like Greedfall comes together better as a fake ass BioWare game than this comes together as a fake BioShock game.
Agreed.
So
yeah, I'd agree with that.
But again, Greedfall is what their third game.
Yeah.
So give these guys three more games, and
Yep. And now let's talk about the cultural angle. We don't want to talk about it too much because we haven't really played enough of it to know. But this is developed by a studio in Russia. They have, I believe, intentionally stayed out of the rhetoric about Putin and the invasion of Ukraine. Yeah. Although I read a report that said that they refused to denounce the invasion of Ukraine or something.
They would only dance around it. Yeah.
Which makes me a little uneasy.
Doesn't make me uneasy.
Really?
Because if you denounce it, you disappear.
Yeah.
Like
because they are living in Russia, right? It does make a difference. Yeah.
They'll go after their family or something.
Right.
Like that's I can't fault them for that. Like I understand why people are like, oh no, but you're American or Western somehow. You don't know that like weird. There are consequences for minor stuff like that.
Yeah, I agree. Now,
so I would have a hard time believing someone made this game with no sense of irony.
Yeah, we'll see. It is published in Russia by the state agency.
Right, that is the question.
And now, if you dig into that, you'll see that it means that not that much money actually does make it to the Kremlin, but a little bit will. So if you have a moral compunction to avoid something like this,
you're
like
kind of in a Hogwarts situation.
Yeah, I'm not going to judge. That's totally up to you. You'd have to do a lot of research to figure out exactly how damaging it is.
Yeah, because there's a bunch of other European people involved, other companies involved.
It gets very complicated.
It is on Game Pass.
It is, yeah. Which means...
good luck finding out.
Yeah.
It was weirdly hidden.
Last night, I had to search for it on the Microsoft Store.
Yeah.
It was not in Game Pass.
I was trying to, like, you were going to do that. You were like, oh, they want $70 for this game.
I almost bought it.
And I was like, yeah, easy Game Pass.
Yeah, this game
and
also,
then, like,
by the way, $70.
Yeah, I mean, it's not next gen only, but it's like, games are going to be $70.
I mean, that's just kind of the thing
how it
now.
is.
Yeah.
But I said I put it on my PC through Game Pass earlier, and I didn't know if it was on, and I'm like, there it is. It's unexpected. And then you couldn't find it because if you search through the store, it doesn't come up as Game Pass.
Well, if you search Game Pass, it would not come up.
No, but if you go into the Game Pass, like if you go in like your full library into the Game Pass, it's in there.
Yeah.
But it looks like it's a different database entry than the actual buy the game.
I think it is. Yeah.
And a lot of times those are like the same.
You're right.
You can either buy it or install it through Game Pass.
Yeah.
This one seems to be separate, which is a little odd.
Yeah. But it is $70. So
or like $90 or $110, depending on which edition with all the extra crap you get.
Yeah.
I would suggest not spending $110 on this.
No, I would definitely suggest that. Reports suggest the game's about 20 hours long. Mm-hmm. So it's not a gigantic open world action RPG.
But that's
that's fine.
It's about as much of this as I would want to play, kind of thing.
I would not want. I don't think I'd want to play in this world for 60 hours.
No, I don't think
honestly.
we need that. And also, that's true of BioShock too. The progression of those games is about right.
Yeah, those games also come in around 18 hours usually, and they're
doing
about
everything.
Perfect. Yeah. That's about when I'm ready. The Legacy is asking, is Atomic Heart better than Prey or Dishonored?
Oh.
I would say Prey is better.
I do not think it's better than Prey.
I don't either.
No.
But I like this more than Dishonored.
But that's like it's not that it's better than Dishonored. I just like it more.
Agreed. I think Dishonored is a better crafted game.
For sure. And Dishonored.
But I'd rather play this.
Dishonored is doing a very different thing.
I've never been interested in Dishonored's world. That's the problem for me. So.
And I don't like how Dishonored plays.
Yeah.
So.
I would rather play this than Dishonored. Is it a better crafted game? Probably not.
No, probably not.
Yeah.
This is for me, this is just easier to get my head around in terms of what it wants from me. And Dishonored, I always feel like I'm doing something wrong.
Yep. Now, look, again, neither one of us have played the vast majority of this game. So it's hard for us to tell you right now whether we recommend buying the game. I would say this, if the rest of the game is of the same quality of what I've played in the first handful of hours, I would struggle to tell someone to pay $70 for it.
Yeah, like this kind of screams, try it later when it's cheaper.
Or on Game Pass.
Because
it's a perfect Game Pass game.
It is a perfect Game Pass game. It's also like it's not like BioShock games. I know, like they're if you want to call all immersive sims a form of BioShock game, I guess. But this is very specifically doing the BioShock.
This is a blatant lift of BioShock.
Yeah. And down to
the stand of this, where you're traveling to the location,
to the city, absolutely.
It's this walk and talk.
There's all these crazy surreal statues everywhere. I mean, it's God. If one of those statues is Andrew Ryan, I wouldn't be surprised. But so if that is something that speaks to you, then there's not a lot of other things to recommend, right? Yeah. People don't do those games very much. The question is if you're a BioShock fan and you want to play this because it looks like BioShock, you're either going to think its shortcomings are fine because you're getting this specific thing you don't get very often, or you're going to be kind of irritated the whole time that it doesn't feel as good as BioShock.
Yeah.
And I don't know if there's a way to know that until you try it.
I can't say this for sure because I've only played a certain amount
So
of
if you're going to do that, I would risk less money to find out.
Yeah. I would guess that ultimately the story in this and the payoffs are not going to be as good as the BioShock franchise.
I would assume not.
I may be wrong, but just having played a bunch of this, that would be my guess. But
or if it is, you're not going to realize it because it's going to be delivered so weird you don't realize what happened.
Right, that's true.
It's not boring.
No.
But it's just like a lot of scenes happen and I just come out of it what was that?
Yeah, what happened? What's the significance of it?
Why did my character say that?
Yeah.
It's very weird.
And again, I don't think it does a great job of teaching the player how to play it either. You have to pay attention. I missed the dodge mechanic because they popped up the tooltip during your first combat.
And there's not even a way. I know this is a modern game thing, but there's not even a way. Because at some point, so there's a quick use health item in the lower left corner.
Yep.
That you hit down on the D-pad and use it. And when I got you're using small health things. And when a medium health thing I got for the first time, it switched that to the medium one. And I don't like to use up my small ones before I switch to medium because by the time I'm done doing that, I will probably have a ton of mediums because the game will have started giving me medium as the default health thing instead of small. We do that. We're all hoarders.
We all do it. Yeah.
And but I couldn't figure out, if it ever told me, I missed it. I couldn't figure out how to switch the quick slot
never figured it out either.
To small. And I went through maybe you look at the controller diagram and the options. There is no controller diagram in the options. There's no way to know what the controls are supposed to be.
The crazy thing for me
I don't know.
is that I actually plowed through and finished Hogwarts Legacy this week. I was totally hooked on it, and I just plowed through and finished it. That game, a game we're going to talk about next, and this game all does health replenishment with either up on the D-pad or down on the D-pad. And so in playing all these games at once, I completely would forget, is it up or is it down? And in some of the games, hitting the wrong thing will make you use something else.
Yeah. It took me forever to remember that right bumper is like your standard interact on this game.
You use RB in this a lot.
Yeah, it is your main
It is the
button.
most used button, which is so rare for any game.
Yeah. At one point it tells you X is the open the weapon wheel.
Yeah.
I'm like, X is that?
I've
never seen that before.
I know. It's
Why
weird.
is the use power button? Okay. Somebody's been playing too much Dark Souls.
Yeah. And Vortex Complex says this is crazy. It is crazy.
Yeah.
This game is crazy. There's moments where you just shake your head. You're like, what just happened? And you guys are seeing the B-roll where I've chopped out a little bit of the downtime and only included the important stuff. So you're not getting the whole picture. So I can only imagine it must seem really bonkers to someone just watching this B-roll who hasn't heard the voiceover and learned about why all this stuff is happening.
It's a weird, it's also culturally a mash of a bunch. There's a little bit of Nier Automata in this. The robot design's a little bit like that.
Yep.
There's there's an Eastern European sort of pedigree to robot servants because that's where the word robot comes from. I think the Czech word for slave.
Yeah.
Was that Rossum's Universal Robots is where the word robot comes from, a play from the early 1900s. There's a cultural basis for this subject matter from these devs, which is interesting too.
Yeah.
And it's a take. There's an element of it's a take on things that wouldn't be necessarily a fully Western idea about this sort of subject matter, which would be cool if the presentation wasn't so confusing in terms of what the characters said all the time, because especially the main character, I do not know. Everyone is a dick to everybody in this game, but particularly the main guy, and I don't know why.
He's unlikable.
But he's also really weirdly cheerful about it.
Yeah.
I can't get a hold of.
I don't feel like the voice actors were seeing the game while they were voicing the line.
I don't know. It almost feels like the voice actors didn't know what they were there's a part of me that's did you AI voice act this? Because some of the deliveries on this is very weird. Also, they keep saying comrade.
You're right.
And I'm like,
is that on purpose?
Is that on purpose? Is that a Russian pronunciation? Or does the computer voice not know how comrade is pronounced?
Who knows? It's weird.
So I guess if you were trying to make me paranoid, well done, Mugfish, because you did it. I went through this game and I don't understand what's happening or why it's doing what it's doing, and I keep questioning everything.
Yeah.
Which is, I guess a success in some ways.
Yeah. I mean, I will say this. I have enjoyed my time playing it.
Yeah, it's not as good as any of the BioShocks in terms of mechanical how it feels to play and all that, and kind of what it's delivering to you. But it's close enough that it's not bad.
It'll fill the void if you've been missing BioShock.
And there's a lot of imagination.
Everybody is, because it's been forever since we had one. This does fill the void moderately well, I would say.
Yeah, it's
not up to that same standard, but it's a close enough facsimile that you can fool yourself into thinking you're playing a new BioShock game, at least for fleeting moments here and there.
It's not like anything else that's out right now. I'll give it that.
Yeah, for sure. Yep. So anyway, don't forget that is on Game Pass right now. So if you don't want to plunk down $70 for the game, you can just, as we always say, subscribe to Game Pass for a month for $15, and off you go. It's available for both PC and Xbox Game Pass. And it's also available for both PS4 and PS5. And again, in those platforms, you have to spend the full $70, which at this point, Matt and I both recommend staying away from that.
Yeah, this is a Game Pass one, or wait.
Till it drops
also,
to
AJ the Legend Watson asked, are the reviews pretty much on point for this game? I don't know what the reviews are on this. I haven't
really
looked
read
yet.
them either. I skimmed through to see, and that's how I learned that it turns into an open world game eventually. So I skimmed some coverage of it, but I didn't really read any of the reviews. I don't even know what its Metacritic average is, actually.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I haven't looked at the reviews on this at all.
Yeah.
I don't know when they went up.
Yeah. Again, the game just went live on Game Pass last night at 9.
The chat says it's got a 74.
Sounds about right.
And then now I said it's 71.
Oh.
Says that Japanese dude.
So maybe that depends on the platform, I guess. Yeah. Pot F2 says this is good until Ken Levine's game comes out. Yeah. Judas, which is...
I think you'll probably finish it before that comes out. But I guess that's supposed to be this year, according to one of our viewers.
Right. We'll see if that happens or not. Shniki's asking what happened to the BioShock team. A lot of them went with Ken Levine.
Ken Levine. Yeah, they're making Judas.
Ghost House or something. Ghost
that sounds right.
Stories
Ghost something
or something.
Yeah, that Ghost something.
Yeah. A lot of them went with him, and
that's a reference, I think, to the fact that it's like a ghost of
the old studio. Irrational. Yeah. A lot of people went with him, but then a lot of people started complaining working with him, saying that he would come in, they wouldn't see him for a week, and he'd come in, they'd be working on something for a whole week, and he'd just trash it. They'd be like, I don't care that you work 50 hours on this, it sucks.
Ghost Story Games.
Yeah. So anyway.
Rock and Roll 458 says reviews are very mixed, some 9s, some 6s, and even some 1s.
1s? So is that someone looking at the cultural angle of it? That'd be my guess. Yeah.
That must be America.
The Wired.
America Game Reviews.
The Wired Game Review.
MakeGamingGreatAgain.com or something.
So anyway, there you go. That is Atomic Heart. Available for everything but Switch, basically. And again, we recommend to check it out on Game Pass.
Judas is apparently March 2025 at the latest.
Okay, so I think there's someone
in the chat that was working on it and said it was further along.
I'm not going to name, and I know what their name is. There is someone who frequents our show and our stream who is working on the game, and I'm not going to speak out of turn. Mm-hmm. If he wants to talk about it, he can talk about it, and he knows that we're talking about him right now. So if he wants to chime in and say 2025, that's a bunch of BS, we'll let him do that. He knows better than we do. So. Again, an auspicious debut for the studio. Like, I want to see what the studio does next. And I would be cool with them making another one of these. Like, they've got a world there that works and makes sense.
Yeah.
And that they've mostly realized.
It would be interesting to see their take on, like, America.
Yeah. Or not. It all depends.
I mean, hey, that would get you in the press.
It would, absolutely.
The only one thing worse than not being talked about, and that's not being talked about.
Yeah. By the way, this is the Heart episode of GameFace. So we're going from Atomic Heart to another game called Wild Hearts.
And then the game after this, there's another connection which is very weird.
It is weird. Wild Hearts is... I can't believe this game is published by EA, first of all. It is a Monster Hunter clone made by Omega Force, which is a studio that usually makes like the Dynasty Warriors franchise, although it has made a game similar to this called Taukiden, I believe.
Yeah, it's the same team.
Yeah, and it's the same team that worked on that works on this. To me, Matt, it's just bizarre that EA signed this game. And look, I realize...
It is very weird to see the EA logo and the Koei Tecmo logo together.
It really is insane. I understand that every publisher is looking for ongoing games and games as a service. And
I understand that EA doesn't have a lot happening at home right now.
Nope. But still, this is such a weird partnership. This game is very Japanese. Not like
Cinetech makes a consequence of Valentine's Day last week with the heart. Like, would have been better last week with all the hearts.
Well, I do think that these games were released around this time frame because of
they were all last week.
Yeah, I think that's why they were released in this week when they could have picked any week in February or any week in March or whatever. I think that's why both of these games were released around this time.
Yeah, I wonder how much that helped.
Yeah. Well, based upon the sales charts from the UK, not very much. Mm-hmm. I'll just put it to you that way. This is a Monster Hunter clone, but it is a cross between Monster Hunter and Fortnite, believe it or not.
Yeah.
And the Fortnite part, you may be like, why? Because it's a game as a service? No, because there is building in this game. Mm-hmm. And it is the weirdest...
integral to the combat.
Oh, you have to do it. You can't topple some of the...
I was going to say, I like this part where you get to choose whether you kill it or pet it.
Yeah.
That doesn't seem to really come... Yeah, I petted it.
I slayed it.
That doesn't really seem to come back.
Yeah.
Really? But I like that it let me pet it and get
that little illusion
anyway.
At the beginning there.
Yeah, I'm like, oh, maybe we won't just be mindlessly murdering forest wildlife for no good reason. No, that's pretty much what the game is anyway.
Yeah. The game is set in a fictional world called Azuma, but it's really just feudal Japan. If you haven't been able to tell yet,
it's a very magical feudal Japan.
Yeah, by what you've seen of the B-roll so far. There's not really much of a story to speak of. It's just like Monster Hunter, where they're just like, we got to defend the town. The monsters are coming. We live in this town. We got to defend the town from the monsters. And that's pretty much the entire plot. There's a merchant, a female merchant that you deal with, and there's this like fallen samurai guy who you interact with throughout the plot, and that's pretty much it.
He's clearly a monster. He's got a tail. He's some kind of...
He's wearing a mask right there.
He's some kind of tanuki, but he has a fucking raccoon tail.
Yeah, he's some sort of a creature. I'm sure there'll be some kind of a twist with him ultimately, but generally the plot in this game is pretty much non-existent. They're just like, hey, these monsters are coming after us.
Yeah, there's just an excuse to be there.
Just go kill the monsters, basically. So if you play games like this, and it's not like Monster Hunter has a great plot generally either. No. It's pretty much the same crap. Oh, here's this town, defend the town.
Or here's this new continent, let's kill everything.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah,
how World decided to go with it.
Now, I mentioned Fortnite a little while ago. We'll get to why it's like Fortnite in a little bit. But probably the most important thing that sets this game apart from Monster Hunter, other than the combat-based building, is the fact that you can kind of construct the gameplay world the way you want. So you can set your camp down where you want. It doesn't set the camp down for you. You can put it literally wherever you want to. So say you're tired, and this happens in Monster Hunter, and it happens in this game too. You're tired of running 10 miles to get back into the fight or to find the monster that you want to fight. You can build a camp right next to the spawn location for the monster so that you can just start right there if you want to. And the traversal of the world goes beyond that as well. You can build like zip lines that will get you from like one point to another or down a cliff face. There's all these items that you can, there's these like spring-loaded like bouncy things that you can land on, and it'll spring you forward. There's all these things that you can use to alter the world to make the game more user-friendly to play. And I think that stuff's a good idea, because that is annoying in Monster Hunter, particularly if you die and you have to run all the way from the camp, all the way back to where the fight was with your teammates or whatever. There are ways to alleviate that in this game. So there are advantages to this game versus Monster Hunter, but not many. In truth, if you compare the two games, this game comes up woefully short compared to Monster Hunter. Most importantly, in the actual number of monsters that there are to hunt, there are only 15 different monsters in this. Monster Hunter Rise, Monster Hunter World, both of those games launched with more than double the amount of creatures to hunt. Now, there's 21 total, but there's really 15.
2 was enough for me.
Yeah. Because there's variations of those 15 monsters to get it out to the 21 number. But generally, there are 50 monsters to fight, and you end up fighting them over and over and over again. Every time you go and start a new chapter, you have to fight through the ladder of monsters again.
Yeah, hope you like fighting the mouse with the rose on its tail.
Right, and then the next one is the mouse with the green rose on its tail. Like, that's how they mix up the monsters in this game. So there aren't that many monsters to fight in this game, unfortunately. And when that's all there is, that's a huge drawback to the game.
But they make up for it by taking forever.
Yeah. And they will really take forever if you do not use the Fortnite-like building in this game. So one of the weird things about this game is that if you jump attack in this game, you do way more damage. And it doesn't matter if you're jumping...
like quadruple damage.
Yes. So you jump off a cliff that's next to the monster and you can do it, or you can build these contraptions in the heat of the battle. Like, some of them are very simple. Just a box. You can stack 3 boxes. Climb up the boxes, jump off the boxes, do a downward slash, as Matt said, does 4 times the damage of any other attack. There's other stuff you can build, though. Like, you can build a gigantic wall. You can build this crazy, like, mallet thing with this big-ass hammer that, like, spring loads and smashes the monster with the hammer. All this stuff sounds like really cool ideas until you try to actually use it, because the monsters can smash it all to bits. All they have to do is take one step in the wrong direction, and everything you built is destroyed. And
it's like an extension of how the combo system works. It's like all they have to do is accidentally do an animation in one frame this way, and now you're knocked on your back, and now you got to get back up again. It's that same Monster Hunter thing where I'm just like, one mistake, and everything comes to a fucking halt.
Yeah. That's pretty much the way it is.
There's no flow. There's no...
You're constantly getting knocked all over the place.
I played this game for an hour and a half, and I was done.
Matt, do you remember when we talked about Monster...
That's really cool, though.
It is. Do you remember when we talked about Monster Hunter Rise, and we were trying to figure out if there was anything unique or innovative about it? And one thing that I pinpointed was the way the transparencies work, and how in Monster Hunter they have honed that to a fine sheen at this point, to where you're never getting hidden by geometry or by the monsters.
Oh no, this was very nostalgic for the Wii version.
This is the exact opposite.
Yeah,
this
camera is an idiot at all times.
It's awful. You get knocked around all over the place. You have no idea where you are. You're covered by geometry of the world. The monsters moving around, attack. It's like impossible to see what the hell's going on. So you're basically just blindly, again, tapping the D-pad to use health. And sometimes you can see like a colored silhouette of your character through all the other crap that's going on, so you can tell if you've actually taken the potion or not. But otherwise, it's just a mess. And when you start mixing in all these contraptions that you're building, again, on the fly, that are getting smashed up, it's just something else to obscure your view of the action. There's other things that you can do once you start getting good at it. You can basically tether the monsters and like ride the monsters, or fly all around the monsters and attack them while you're tethered to the monsters.
Yeah, which is very Tokiden.
It is,
That's
and so there's some depth to the combat, but the base of it is so annoying.
I have no interest in getting there.
Me either. I played this game a good bit, actually. I probably spent, I don't know, 15 hours with it, something like that.
No, when I ran into the second time I had to fight the rabbit with the flower on its tail, I was done. I was like, no, we're not doing that. And that was like half an hour later after I already killed it the first time. This game is the opposite also. So this thing, that's where you have to like activate these pits to like be able to build stuff. The first time I got to this place, the prompts to interact with that didn't come up, I could not figure out what it wanted me to do. It wanted me to build this thing. It's like, you can't build it. The dragon pit's not powerful. And it's like, unblock the dragon pit. I'm like, I'm stomping on it. I'm smashing. I had to quit out and reload it.
All the terminology in this game, way too obtuse. It's all Japanese, basically. Like the beasts are called kimono. The karakuri, those are the things that you actually build out in the world. Yeah. Then there's the Susukumo, which are the mechanical creatures that serve as your AI companion.
Which make the most annoying noises.
Yeah.
In so surround sound, those things are... I'm like, what do you...
And they don't help.
No, but also like the sound... The one that I found, the sound that it makes... Like, I guess it's supposed to be like... It's supposed to be like a mechanical thing, but the sound it makes sounds like someone making a fart sound with their hands.
Yeah.
I'm like, what is that choice right there?
Rock and Roll 458 is asking if there's a lot of diversity to the monsters. If there's only 15, it sounds like it will get stale. The monsters are insane. They're not good. It's like they put like random monster parts into a database and then created a random monster generator. They just snapped the parts together. It's like there's one monster that has like a weird like lion's mane, but then it's also like a caterpillar. It's just like this weird...
Well, it looks like a dragon from like a Chinese New Year parade.
That's a good way to put it, actually. Yeah. And maybe that was what they were going after, but it just looks bad. Like, I didn't find any... That first monster, that frost monster, the wolf that you fight, cool. The rest of the monsters are just like, what the F? Like, what are these things? You're seeing the upgrade tree now. So at your camp, again, as I mentioned, you have this lady there who will sell you upgrades for your weapons, upgrades for your armor. I could not see any difference when I upgraded anything in this game.
Yeah, I don't know. The sword, the first upgrade on the sword mattered because I think I was killing the lizards faster. But like in general, it's very incremental, just like Monster Hunter.
You literally have to hack. I mean, if you haven't played Monster Hunter, you don't know. But if you have played, then you know. This game is just like that. You have to hack each monster like a billion times, and they go through stages. So you chip them down, they limp away, which still is disturbing as F to me. Running after this limping creature, I'm like, what am I doing here? Could you at least give me a reason? Are these creatures like eating everybody? Are they destroying humanity? Can you give me a reason to want to kill these things?
What is happening here?
This is so...
Oh, other players,
this is
you are
online.
so annoying.
Did you play it online?
No.
Okay. So I did. I spent most of my time playing it
Introducing other players to this was not going to make me have any more fun. I was sure of that.
It helps because it helps you beat the creatures versus playing it by yourself.
Wow.
But the one thing that's important to note is that only the host gets progression.
Yeah.
So I have played pretty much this whole game But my save is actually still in like the first chapter because you don't get credit for it. You earn like the pickups, the drops from the enemies, you get all that stuff. You just don't get the credit as far as like actually achieving those things in your own game save unless you are the person who is hosting the session. So that's just something to keep in mind. I spent most of my time playing online with other people, but as it turned out, it wasn't doing me any good as far as making progress through the game. I needed to go back and either be the host or play it by myself. And Matt, I don't know how you played this by yourself. Did you ever defeat a large monster playing it by yourself?
I defeated this thing by myself.
So it scales okay?
Yeah, I mean, it still takes forever, but you can do it.
But it was possible.
And like they still like scatter the healing water things around the arena so you can refill.
Yeah. They're everywhere. There's these plants.
I didn't feel like I did it well, but I killed it.
You did defeat it. Yeah. But playing with others, it's better. I'll say that much. Playing this game with other people is more exciting. Also, I learned a lot.
I don't care. There's nothing about this kind of subgenre makes me care about any of it. Like I don't know. It's literally just grinding. It's just killing these things over and over to get a little bit of material so you can maybe build something to let you go kill another thing 14 times to get a little material to build another thing. Lets you kill them slightly stronger. I don't care.
Yeah.
And nothing, like the designs are sometimes cool. I hate how it plays. I hate how it feels. I hate how slow it is and clunky everything feels. I hate how it's so based around, like, you got to figure out these weird, like, secret ways of doing things that actually make the monsters react to a giant blade sinking into their skin. I hate that it's, like, hunting these things for no reason. You're just sort of in their territory.
Right there.
Yeah, there it goes, hurt, running away, and now we got to hunt it down and kill it. It's like, but none of that's interesting to me. Like, none of that is a like a power fantasy fulfillment. None of it's something I want to do. And none of these, I do play these games periodically and like wonder if like, oh, maybe this one. No, like I just don't think these games are for me. Like if I'm gonna play a hard as nails, like long form, slow progression, fight very difficult big monsters thing, I'm gonna play Dark Souls.
This is one of those games, and Monster Hunter to a lesser extent, but still accurate. Where I play it after a while, I'm like, why am I playing this?
Yeah, for sure.
I could be doing something way more productive with my time. Literally. Like anything. All these, like I started playing this and I was like, man, there's all this stuff that I need to do that I've been putting off, and I'm leaving for this trip. Like I should be doing that instead of playing this game. It really just feels like a time waster to me.
Yeah, it always feels like a waste of time to me. And I know there's some people that's what they dig, but this is the same thing as like MMOs to me, where I'm just like, I can see the strings. It's just you turn filling a bar into an entire game.
Yeah.
And I don't care.
Yeah.
There's no hook for me here.
Because the loop is you destroy the animal, you get the drops from the animal, and then you go back and you use those drops to build armor based upon that animal.
Or you don't have enough, so you go back and you sit at the fire and you do that mission again and kill it again until you have enough.
So you get enough, so you can build.
Until you have enough tail feathers or whatever to craft a thing that has no fucking feathers on it.
And you're right. And there's an elemental angle to this too. Like certain enemies have certain elemental alignments, and if you build armor that's and the antithesis of those elements, then you can take more damage. But at the end of the day, there's health everywhere. Like, as long as you're not completely impatient, you could probably beat
what a great victory screen.
Yeah.
Just a close-up of random tree branches.
Falling over. I mean, this whole game is this way. Like, I have no idea what EA was thinking signing this game, Matt. I mean, I know what they were thinking.
I mean, I know what they're thinking is that we want our own Monster Hunter.
Yeah. But after they actually checked the game out and played it, that they went ahead forward with the agreement is crazy to me.
I mean, you spend enough money, you got to release. At least now you got a thing to show the accountants when you say it's.
I'm saying before they signed the game, like what were they thinking?
Did they produce the game or did they sign it while it was already done?
I think it was.
Did they just agree to finish it?
I'm guessing they funded development of the game.
Yeah, well, at that point, you got sunk costs enough. You got to pretty much put it out.
It's very un-EA, this game. I don't know. To me, it fails at what Monster Hunter is so good at and what I praise Rise for. And that's the great combat. The finding a way to make the combat work. It doesn't work in this. As you saw in this B-roll, you're basically just hacking blind half the time. You can't see your character. You can't see where the enemy is. There's just crap flying everywhere. The camera gets stuck behind stuff all the time.
You get stuck in combos you can't break out of. You can't roll out of some of your combos, which is bizarre to me. In a post-Dark Souls Monster Hunter world, how do you not... the defense in this game is bizarrely, limited and kind of broken to me. Like I don't even play much Monster Hunter, but even Monster Hunter World, I felt like I had more control over being able to get out of the way than I do in this game.
I mean, there are times playing this where I'm like, I would almost prefer if I could just put the combat on auto. Like, seriously though, it's not fun. You start playing with some of the other people who've been playing it for a long time, and they can build crazy contraptions, but they're no better at it than I was. Here you can see the building. You build it, and almost instantly they knock it down and like destroy it. Like, I think of probably 1 out of every 4 things I build, I actually get to use in the combat if I'm lucky. Like, I don't know, man. I did not have a good time with this game at all. And again, once I got to the 10-hour mark, I'm like, what am I doing? I've played enough of this game to be able to tell people whether they're going to be interested in buying it or not. And that's good enough. One thing I would say is you can respec anytime in this. So if you do build something that you're not happy with or you think it's not working like I felt, you can just respec everything and just set it up exactly the way that you want to. You do have to defeat specific monsters, though, to unlock some nodes on the tree. So some of the nodes on the upgrades, you can't access
almost all of them.
Yeah.
Like, that's the main way you progress the tree down.
Yep. So that's something to keep in mind. Like, you have to diversify the monsters that you're fighting to make sure that there's something worthwhile to always unlock on the tree.
Yeah, you can't it's a grind for equipment, but you can't level grind.
Yeah.
Because it's gate kept by the different bosses.
And I saw, the Legacy is asking, are there frame rate issues or is this just the footage? It is just the footage. I guess transferring it
it ran fine.
From 60 frames to 30 frames for the TriCaster has caused the stuttering. It's not the game. Just want to get
it
that
ran
out there.
fine on the PS5 for me.
I saw someone had a question. Oh, from AJ the Legend Watson. Do you believe this will motivate the Monster Hunter developers to make it future Monster Hunter games more innovative? I don't think there's much here.
I can't see how.
I've seen some people praising the whole building stuff.
The building thing just feels. I mean, you ask why did EA do this? Like, because a bunch of suits saw a thing that looked like Fortnite and thought, there we go, we'll combine Fortnite with Monster Hunter and make $1 billion. Yeah, that's what it was.
That sounds very EA, by the way.
Yeah.
A bunch of dumbasses sitting in a boardroom making stupid decisions. No, I don't think this is going to motivate them, because I don't think it does anything in here that the Monster Hunter developers aren't doing.
And anything they aren't doing, I don't know why they're probably not doing it for a reason.
Yeah, I mean, the building part of this doesn't add anything to the game. I think it's just a distraction as far as I'm concerned.
It's got, the building part has huge how do you do, fellow kids energy.
Pretty much, yeah.
It just feels like you're trying to get in on Fortnite.
Hey, you like Fortnite, right?
5 years late.
Barry Lomax says literally anything else more productive, and that's how I felt playing this. I'm like, I am wasting my time right now. I could be doing something for Sifted other than playing games to talk about on GameFace. Like, I could be doing all this other stuff instead of playing this game. And so
you'd be running Atomic Heart footage.
Yeah, exactly. That would be better, exactly. But that's, the heart, and I'm only seeing partial clip names in the TriCaster, which is why I accidentally clicked on it. But anyway, I do not recommend this game at all.
No. So go keep playing Monster Hunter if that's your thing. Yeah. And if it's not your thing, this ain't going to change your mind.
Because the other thing, too, is that Monster Hunter Rise is now available on other platforms. Yeah. It's not a Switch exclusive anymore.
Putting it up against that, since that was just released for other okay.
Now, Monster Hunter Rise is far and away the superior game. It's not even close.
I haven't even played Monster Hunter Rise, and I believe that.
Yeah. Now, I will say the online play, it's very simple, very easy. The connectivity was great. I didn't have any lag. It's very easy to sort the servers by the monster that they're fighting. But most people don't even signify what monster they're fighting when they set up their stupid servers. So your mileage will vary.
Other than the camera, there were no technical issues, really.
Yeah. I struggle to tell anyone to pick this up. And based upon the first weekend sales in the UK, I'm not alone. This game is not selling very well at all. It's going to be another failed experiment.
What a weird title.
What?
I think it's a weird title.
Wild Hearts. What does it have to do with anything?
I don't know. It sounds like it's a game about bikers.
Yeah, I don't know. I still haven't figured out why it's called that.
I don't know.
I mean, there is kind of the mechanic where you chop off the parts and then you can get the resource that you need to build from the body parts. I don't know if that's... I don't know.
I mean, wild I get, but Wild Hearts?
Because wild animals.
Yeah, but Because you're in like a forest. It's kind of a Princess Mononoke thing.
I have
but
no idea.
I don't get it.
Now, new monsters are coming as DLC. Free DLC, I would add. There's also new gear coming as DLC. The other thing I should have mentioned, there's only 8 weapons in this. Although one is an umbrella. Which, kind of cool.
Okay.
But, like, if you play Monster Hunter, there's like 18 to 20 weapons that you can use. And so, pretty much in every measurable metric, this game falls short of Monster Hunter. So again, you may even be able to find Rise at this point for a little cheaper than retail, maybe on PC even. So I highly recommend going for either of the most recent Monster Hunter over this game. Monster Hunter World, you can probably get that for $15 now.
Or just go play Wild Arms and Vandal Hearts and be done with it.
Yeah. Exactly.
There's a bunch of other options here.
The other thing we shouldn't mention is that this is a next-gen only game.
Yeah.
This is only PC, PS5, and Xbox Series. And you just saw that B-roll. Think about...
I mean, the complexity of the big monsters is nice. But
it's no better than what we saw on Switch with Monster Hunter Rise.
These guys are no Capcom. So, I mean, it's Koei.
Omega Force.
Working pretty good, considering.
I mean, the frame rates are really high. It runs really smoothly, but that's because the game doesn't look that great. And again, the world isn't that big. It is big enough that it's annoying to run from one end to the other, but it's not a big open world game.
No, it's a Monster Hunter style map. It's corridors and open spaces and corridors and open spaces.
Yep. But it is next gen only, so you can't even play this if you're a PS4 owner or an Xbox One owner. You can only.
How tragic.
Yeah, you're not going to want to play this anyway. So anyway, what is the EA doing, Matt?
Not much.
It's bizarre. I don't know why it sunk its money into this, but it did.
Because they wanted a Monster Hunter game, because Monster Hunter makes obscene amounts of money.
I guess it does.
It was just a Me Too.
It makes more than a single player.
I said it. They combined Monster Hunter with Fortnite. In a boardroom, I'm sure that looks like a great PowerPoint presentation.
Yeah.
That's it. That's what it was.
You're right. That's pretty much what it was. And you're right. I think they got into...
And again, the consulting agency could have told them that was not going to work, but... we weren't there.
I've actually, this week, I came up with a better name for our consulting agency, called Red Flag. Because I figured, people are not going to employ the consulting agency. Because they're like, you're insinuating that we're stupid.
Right.
Red Flag, however...
yeah, makes it clear we're insinuating that you are stupid.
Someday we'll see it. Mitchell is Alive mentions that Monster Hunter Rise is on Game Pass right now. So there you go. That is absolutely the better choice. Spend your $15. You'll figure out whether you want to stick with Monster Hunter. Again, Game Pass, great deal. Everybody should have it if you have a PC or an Xbox. It's just a no-brainer. So anyway, there you go. That's Wild Hearts. Next up, a game that we've hinted at a couple times here already. People have actually requested that we cover this game on GameFace. And I did not want to play it. I did not want to cover it. But
you were correct.
I was right about everything. That game is Wanted Dead. It is developed by a bunch of ex-Team Ninja people. I would argue the least talented of all the Team Ninja people. It is a hack and slash with gunplay.
Yeah.
Very combo heavy.
But also with a weird crane game fetish. It's a very strange game.
It reminds me a lot of the stuff that Itagaki has made since he left Team Ninja.
Yeah, there's a little bit of Devil's Third.
It's just
kind
this
of like, who do you think wants this?
Yes.
Sort of thing. And like again, this has a little bit of the same thing that Atomic Heart has, where it's like, what are you doing? Like the presentation and the characters and stuff are like, what? Like
right?
what? So the connection here, by the way, from the diner that she and her team hang out at is called Atomic Heart.
Yeah.
I don't know if that was intentional or what, but it's like, you'll probably see it in the B-roll here when it cuts away from this. They're literally eating at a diner called Atomic Heart.
Yeah.
So that was
overlap
weird.
In this episode of GameFace going on.
And this is the whole thing. Like, this whole scene again is sort of like, what's happening? Like, it's like the characters aren't actually talking to each other. They're just delivering lines that were written in different rooms.
Yeah.
And so this is basically, you're part of an elite, like, badass team that works for the Hong Kong Police Department in a future Ghost in the Shell style cyberpunk way. And it's her, you play as her, and the other team members are, was it Doc, who is like a alcoholic, traumatized field doctor?
Yeah.
And Herzog, who is like, he's either like a badass jerk, like weapons guy, or sometimes he sounds like a weirdly sensitive person. Like it's the voice actor switches up a bunch. And then there's I think it's Cortez, is it?
Yeah.
He's the Demolitions.
Matt, I'll just be honest with you. I played this just long enough to get the B-roll.
Yeah, he's the Demolitions he's the Demolitions like lock picking guy, and he's deaf. So one of the weird things in this game is that the animation and the character stuff is very rough, except Cortez's sign language is extremely well done. And it's like, what happened here? Like, very strange. So, and the implication seems to be that he's deaf because he plants bombs.
Right,
like,
and one has exploded and took his hearing. Yeah.
Everyone's a dick.
Yeah.
For no apparent reason.
There's no redeeming characters.
Yeah, they don't all. None of them seem to like interact really, and they keep complaining about each other in ways that they have not demonstrated that they. It's like one.
They haven't established.
There's a whole
yet.
stretch where Herzog's complaining about how Doc is an alcoholic that can't focus on his job, but Doc has said like 2 lines the whole game, and you're like, what are you talking
now
about?
we know he's a worthless alcoholic.
Except he's the guy who brings you back to life. Like if you die between checkpoints, Doc, if you have health packs left, Doc will resurrect you once.
Yeah.
So he's the only one in the team that does anything useful early on.
Here you can see someone on Old Team Ninja was playing Call of Duty because they have the whole like pick 12 system for the guns.
Yeah, which almost all the upgrades you start with make everything worse.
Yeah.
It's very weird. So basically, you can either hide behind cover and shoot people, which doesn't work very well because the shooting is extremely weird and wonky and
dude, the enemies are bullet sponges.
Unless you're hitting them in the head, you're up against body armor that is better than your bullets, and you have like 90 bullets, and you burn through a magazine like that. So and the only way to get more bullets is to kill guys and take their ammo, which isn't guaranteed. So you'll run out of ammo in like one firefight, and you got to do this thing where you sprint up and use your sword, which is a much more powerful weapon, but you'll also get hit a lot, and there's no real way to regenerate your health.
Well, you're also a bullet sponge. Like, you can take a ton of damage before you
more
die.
than you think.
But it's absurd. She's got no clothes on. She's got bare arms. She has no armor.
Yeah, but
she can literally take like 10 clips.
Yeah, but she's cool. It's fucking Team Ninja. I mean, I know it's not Team Ninja anymore, but it's Team Ninja.
Yeah, like the
Ryu Hayabusa's wearing a cloth ninja suit, and he can take like 14 bullets before he dies. Come on. Yeah. So like, and so I will say this: the skill tree is not so much a series of perks that like
perfect timing.
Yeah, it's not so much a series of perks that give you cool advantages. It's just filling in what you need to make the combat system work.
Yeah.
Like
that's a good way to
you can't really see it, but like so you're looking at like
they don't animate the boxes like every other game does for the abilities,
right? But also like what you can't really see here is like so the first offense thing is like a bullet time thing is kind of useless, but that first one there is parry, like being able to follow up your parry attacks.
Yeah.
So like you do
basics.
You can do the perfect parry thing like you can do in every game. Like, you hit if you block the attack right as it's gonna hit you, you knock them back and they're stunned. But you can't follow that parry up until you get the skill.
Yeah.
And then she has an unlimited handgun that you have to use to parry the unblockable attacks, which have red glow. The one thing I will say is you can handgun parry an unblockable attack way later than you think you can.
She also
but again, you can't follow that up until you get the skill that lets you follow up a handgun parry. And if you don't know those are all in there, you're like, why doesn't this combat system work? It doesn't work because you haven't unlocked half of it yet. It's very weird.
Like handgun finisher, like where if you blast their heads off.
Yeah, if you
very gory as well. This game.
There's a lot of stolen John Wick kills in this.
Oh yeah.
So if you hit a guy to the point that he does that, you see he's kind of glowing white there. Yeah. You hit the Y and B button together and you do a finisher automatically. Now one of the key things you need to do is go down the skill tree and pick up the 2 skills that let you have an automatic be able to do usually you have to knock their stamina down, which takes a long time, but there are 2 skills that let you do an instant finisher if you cut an arm off and another one if you cut a leg off, which you'll cut arms off way before you kill or knock stamina down. So if you can get the arm cut off thing, you'll be killing guys in half the time. But it's like you're still just doing, and like the finisher doesn't really get you anything. Like the most it will get you is it'll buy you enough time for your health to regenerate, because there's a gray health thing where like you get hit and you still got, it's like that thing that some games do where like, or like I guess like kind of Bloodborne kind of does, where you have a period of time where if you don't get hit again, you'll regenerate that health. So that's what that's good for. But now I've told you the entire game.
Yeah.
That, like, this is the game.
In fact, if you watched the first 5 minutes of this B-roll, you've watched the next 15 minutes of this B-roll.
Yeah.
It is the same thing over and over.
And they know that it's not sustainable, because so this is the drone that shows up for your remote gunsmith. So every time the drone shows up, that's your checkpoint, and like it's also refills all your ammo and lets you change your weapon loadout. Like this drone shows up like 6 times a level, because they know you're out of ammo constantly, you're out of health packs constantly, you're out, like it's and like it's annoying. And like if you get killed anywhere in here beyond this, you have to go back to that drone. And sometimes those drones are not spaced out too smartly.
Yeah.
The game only has, I think, 6 missions, including this one, so it's actually pretty short. But
thank God.
I don't know if you're going to want... And you're supposed to replay it a bunch. You're supposed to replay it on hard mode and then Japanese hard mode.
Oh, what does that mean?
Really hard, yeah.
Ninja Gaiden,
because
like Team Ninja.
Believe it or not, what they said they're going for here is a PS2 game. They're going for the old PS2 style.
I can see that.
That's
probably all that they can make.
Maybe.
I feel like they are trapped at the last Ninja Gaiden game that they made. Here we are.
I think I like Razor's Edge better than this, actually.
I definitely did. Oh, I like Razor's Edge way more than this game.
But like it's
just silly.
And the weird thing, so like there's like you go to the police station between missions, and like there's tons of mini game things. There's like crane game, and there's like a cooking mini game thing, and there's all this, and you do earn skill points. Like you can actually grind those things and get more skills. Because one of the things that is very weird about this game is like this, having the skill tree filled out doesn't make you really cool. It just makes you competent.
Right.
It
makes the combat work eventually.
You hit a point where you're like, I'm going to grind these stupid mini games to get more of these skills unlocked before I go into the next mission, because I don't feel like I'm playing a complete character yet. Yeah. Which is never a good feeling.
Also, not something that was prevalent in their games in the past.
No, I don't know what to make of this. And like the weird thing is like, there's a bunch of people that are like, oh, this game's amazing.
What?
Like they think it's the greatest thing. They're going to play it forever. It's like their deadly premonition. It's like, oh, it's like a bad game, but it's the best bad game.
No, it's not. This is just a bad game.
This game just kind of blows.
It's just bad.
It's bad.
I couldn't stand it. And I have personal connections to some of the people at Team Ninja, and I'm just like, what have you, like, did you retire for 15 years and just came back and like, let's try this again?
This is like a bad Suda 51 game with none of the charm.
Yeah, with none of the funny and none of the irreverence.
Like even when Suda makes a game that I don't like he has that attitude and that element. Even like the game about the woman turning into the cat or whatever it was. Yeah. Like that was him, right? Was that him?
Yeah, I think it was.
Like, but like I was like,
there's something
I didn't dig it, but there's some, and it also felt like it was something he wanted to do. That team was like, oh, we're doing this weird thing. This feels so soulless. It's just empty in a weird way that I don't understand. And like they're trying to be personable, they're trying to be funny and like quippy. Like the scene in the diner is clearly supposed to make you like these characters. Like, oh, look at this wacky group again.
Meanwhile, he's completely covered in blood. Yeah. Hitting the keypad. He's just...
Yeah, they did keep that from the Ninja Gaiden. It's like, she gets covered in blood.
But they also, a lot of these guys also worked on Dead or Alive, the fighting game, and you can see that in the Melee stuff. But
also in the waitress in the diner.
Right, yeah. But it's like, you can see the stuff that they've worked on in the past, but every bit of it is worse than the stuff that they worked on in the past, and that was like 15 years ago. The people who like this are just like Japanese fetishists. Like that's the only way I can see.
But it's doubly weird because like there's not a lot of Japanese to this, because it's like there is. I mean, in the sense of like you can tell because of the Team Ninja sort of Z team, but like it feels like them trying to make it feels like the old Japanese style of trying to make Western focused games from the PS2 era.
Well, they can't. They're trying to figure out what's cool. They're like, oh, we're gonna go watch Die Hard 50 times, and we'll make a game that people in America are gonna like. That's the ideas behind stuff like this. Like, watching old, outdated Western pop culture and trying to make a game that emulates it. That didn't work 15 years ago. It doesn't work now. Like, this game was so repetitive, and I can't imagine anyone sticking with this game. Again, it was torture for me to play this long enough to get decent B-roll. So
I know people online who are on their third playthrough.
Why?
I don't know.
What do they say?
They just love it.
How are they rationalizing their love for it?
They don't
What is it that they love?
They like shitty things.
Okay.
It's like,
well, then that makes perfect sense.
It's like the friend you had that wouldn't stop watching Toxic Avenger over and over again. It's like, what are you doing? And it's like, no, I just like crap, basically. Like, you know.
There's so many. I mean, it's just like, okay, I thought I was wasting my time playing Wild Hearts. Let me tell you how much I thought I was wasting my time playing this. Mm-hmm. I was just like, what am I doing with my life that I'm spending time playing this piece of trash?
I would probably rather play this than Wild Hearts.
Really? Well, I can see that.
This has an end.
I can see that for you. You're right, though. They're kind of on equal footing depending on your taste in games, I guess. I don't know. I'm
just better at playing this than I am at Wild Hearts, frankly. Like, I can get my head around the crappy, weird. I guess, like, did you block that attack or not? Who knows? Like, like you're supposed to hold left bumper to block, but sometimes it just doesn't block. Yeah. Like, you don't block the second attack in the combo, and I don't know why.
Which is weird for Team Ninja.
Yeah.
That's one thing they have typically got right throughout the years.
Yeah, and there's like a gator gator. There's like a gating enemy in this level, the first level, where like you're in this like Japanese area and like Japanese themed garden room, and eventually this like I loved how the bullet decals just sort of vanished there. Didn't move with the door. This like kind of, it looks like the Cyber Ninja from Metal Gear Solid 1, and he's the guy where it's like, if you don't know how to parry properly, you're not going to win. And it's just, I think most people will end there.
This game looks so terrible. I mean, graphically, it looks literally like a PS2 game. Like, if that's what they're going for,
they
bravo.
nailed it.
Because technically, artistically...
But you know what? There's an element of that. Like, there's an element of like, oh, yeah, I guess this does kind of feel a little bit like Blood Will Tell in terms of sort of how awkward it is. But, like, you know what it reminds me more of? It reminds me more of, like, when you'd get, like, a Japanese developer, other than Ninja Gaiden, but you get some Japanese developer to make an exclusive Xbox One game.
Yeah.
And you'd end up with something like, I don't know, Nightcaster, which I know wasn't Japanese, but it's like...
I get what you're saying. And the enemies, you fight the same enemies over and over and over and over again. Literally, I fought the same enemy through this whole B-roll. There was not one different enemy, Matt.
There are only 3 different enemies in this first level, as I remember.
Wow.
There's the guys you're fighting here. There's versions of that guy that are glowing purple.
Oh.
And there's two there's the guys with the guns, there's the guys with the knives, and then there's purple guys, and I don't know what the difference is, but they do look different. And they take fewer hits for some reason.
Yeah.
And then there's the Cyber Ninja guys who show up later. But other than that, I can't remember. And the only the Cyber Ninjas look different enough that you'd really know they were a different enemy type. The others are basically the same enemy type with a different weapon.
Mm-hmm. What a disappointment this game is.
You'd have to have expectations to be disappointed by this guy. I didn't know. I didn't know what the hell I'm looking.
When they say former Team Ninja guys, like,
okay, well,
I do have a certain level of expectations.
I don't, because that's just marketing bullshit.
Yeah,
like that's just PR.
I mean, I know the guys, so it's not.
Do you know these guys? The C stringers?
Yeah, I mean, I lived with them for 2 weeks and went to dinner with them every night, breakfast with them every night, lunch with them every day.
These guys?
Yeah, these guys are ex-Team Ninja. They were there when I did the documentary with them for weeks.
You sure they weren't just like holed up in a room somewhere, like making?
A lot of them were. Yeah. There's a group
making Dead or Alive 8 or whatever.
There was a group of 11 people that were like Team Ninja, and yes, probably 5 of those guys are working on this game. And I really wonder if they, after Itagaki left, if they're just like, man, I can't find any work. Let's form our own studio and make this god awful game. I'm really disappointed in it. If you can't tell.
Yeah, I don't.
And I struggle to find, a lot of times when I find games that I don't like, I always try to think of some other type of person or type of player that it might be for. And I can't think of those people. That's why I was asking you, like, the people who are saying that they like it, what do they like? Like, what is it about it that they're like, I can't figure it out?
I don't know. I mean, I haven't talked to them extensively, but I think they just have bad taste.
Maybe.
Like, some people just like crappy
Weird,
things.
janky
They
stuff.
like janky stuff no one else likes because it's different.
That might be part of it. They want to be different, so they want to like stuff that other people don't like, maybe. I don't know. But for me, I would say stay far, far away from this game. Who would you recommend it to? Anyone?
Nobody.
Yeah.
Really. It's terrible.
Yeah. Objectively, terrible game.
Sneaky says it doesn't look as bad as you're making out. Like, it feels way worse than it looks. It does not feel good to play.
Wait a minute. What? We have not covered a game on GameFace, maybe ever, that looks as bad as this game. What are you talking about? Dude, look at this crap. Look at that.
Not tops.
Dude, what are you talking about? Look at that character model.
I mean, it does look better than a PS2
His
character.
hair is made out of plastic. And then hers is like this crazy overreaction where the hair is going all over the place. It's awful. Anyway, so we found we've now found the person.
And those are pre-rendered.
Sneaky is the one who likes games like this.
I don't think he'd even like it.
What?
I don't think he'd even like it.
Maybe not. I don't know.
It's too bad. It doesn't matter what you think it looks like. I'm talking about how it feels when you're playing it.
Oh, it's terrible. Look, it looks terrible too, though. The same texture repeated over and over in that level. The same enemy. It was one enemy. One enemy. The whole level. One enemy. Anyway, let's move on. I don't want to give that game any more airtime. I think we've already given it more than it deserved. Next up, I've been playing a game that is the exact opposite of Wanted Dead.
All that stuff, by the way, it's like when you say like, "Oh, I want another Ninja Gaiden from Team Ninja." That's shit's like that's why no, let's not do that.
Well, I'll tell you what, if that's what's going to come out of it, F that.
Probably.
I don't want one.
Probably.
On the complete opposite end of the spectrum, I have been playing a very lighthearted and whimsy game this week called Theatrhythm Final Bar Line. It is a Final Fantasy music and rhythm game, the latest in the Theatrhythm line. The first thing I would say right off the top is it is the best game in the Theatrhythm line for a multitude of reasons. This game is available for Switch and PS4, so it didn't come out for a ton of platforms, although I think they probably chose the right ones. It features 385, Matt. 385 different Final Fantasy tracks. That's just songs from the Final Fantasy
That's a lot of music I don't know.
That's insane, dude. 385 songs. And then if you get the Digital Deluxe or the Premium Digital Deluxe editions, you also get songs from other franchises like Nier, the Saga franchise, Live Alive, and Octopath Traveler. In all, it includes tracks from a total of 46.
For some reason, this keeps making me think of the Rare Replay intro, where everybody's like introducing you to the games.
Overall, it includes songs from 46 different games, which is insane. And it features music from all the spin-offs, and then from Final Fantasy 1 through Final Fantasy 15 in the main series, and it includes all the remakes, the spin-offs, and all the various different soundtrack CDs. So look, if you are a fan of Square Enix music, this game is probably worth buying just for that alone, because it also gives you a music box option where you can just listen to the music and you don't have to play the game. And I would argue that might be the best way to consume the content in this, because the game itself is not very good. Like the actual rhythm and music gameplay, it's actually music and rhythm mixed with an RPG. So once the B-roll starts going here, you'll see there's four...
I just want like Luna is staring at you like you're crazy
because I get fired up. She's like, you're usually not the one who's all fired up.
Why is he yelling about Final Fantasy?
Yeah. So as you start
he doesn't even like Final Fantasy.
You'll see in the B-roll, you have a 4-person party. And so when you first start, you can unlock one of the games. So I unlocked Final Fantasy VII because it's the most popular. And as you can see, I got 7 characters from Final Fantasy VII.
Way to follow the crowd, Shane.
Yeah. As you play, you get more unlock tokens, and you can unlock a different one. I think my second one was Final Fantasy V. And so then you have that whole roster of characters that you can choose from to put in your 4-person party. And you're seeing here me choosing my 4-person party. As you can see underneath each one of those, there are buffs that you can select for each character. And how it works is, once we get to the gameplay and the B-roll, there's a separate line for each party member. And as you complete and enter the inputs correctly for that character will then attack in the RPG stuff in the bottom of the screen. Now, I'll just say this, Matt. I didn't pay attention to any of that crap. Like, it's just enough for me to just watch the bars and try to get the timing and stuff right. That was more than enough for me. But eventually, you also, if you play well enough and you keep getting like critical matches with your timing, eventually you get a summon, and a huge summon will come on screen and attack. It's a novelty, and for me personally, when I play music and rhythm games, I never look away from the actual like note charts. Do you?
Not usually.
Like, it was hard enough in Rock Band.
I mean, I certainly knew people who could play Rock Band without looking at the notes, but that was not me.
Yeah, that was not me. And so in this, I hardly ever actually... I ended up watching, like, the RPG stuff after I played it, and I was looking at the B-roll. Because you have to concentrate and focus. And the other thing I would say, too, is there's four different difficulty settings. And I played it on the second one, which is the default. And it was way too easy. I was getting, like, double S ratings on almost every map or every board. I bumped it up one more and I couldn't finish the song. There's no, for me anyway, there was no happy medium in this game between it being too easy and it being too difficult. Now, I'm sure if I had actually wanted to spend time on the higher difficulty, eventually I would have got good enough and I could do it. But I'm just telling you out of the gate, as someone who's played his fair share of these Bemani games and music and rhythm games, I couldn't find the happy difficulty setting. So again, going back to what I was saying, the ideal way to consume this is to just treat it like a CD and just use the music box feature in the game and just listen to the music, because it really is a compendium, an exhaustive compendium of all the Final Fantasy music ever. There are 3 different modes to play. There's the single player mode, which is what you're seeing right now. There's a mode where you can just choose what board you want to play, and then there's a multiplayer. Online multiplayer is up to 8 players, and there is like this attack and like back and forth when you're playing it online. Like, stuff will pop up that'll obscure the note listing so you can't see and you have to guess. Like, basically most of the power-ups are just distractions to keep you from being able to see their board or being able to recognize the notes that you're trying to hit. But otherwise, the multiplayer modes didn't offer a whole lot, I didn't think. And like, again, like most music and rhythm games, the objective is to push the buttons in time with the music, and then you have to match the triggers that move across the screen. So you'll see there's like directional arrows, and then sometimes when you hold in the buttons, I didn't notice this at first, there will be a directional at the end. Mm-hmm. And that is what matters the most, how you finish it, because that's ultimately what really determines the attacks that you do as far as the RPG stuff is concerned. Now, I was getting like double S ranks on a lot of these, but even in the cases where I didn't and I got like a B or something, I still easily finished the board, because the only objective really is to end up with more people in your party member than are left on the enemy at the bottom of the screen. So I would argue that the RPG stuff in this is pretty throwaway, and I didn't feel like you really needed to kind of use any strategy or had to think about the RPG side of it. As long as you are just punching those notes in on time and nailing all that stuff, the rest of the game just takes care of itself. So really, the RPG crossed with music and rhythm is kind of a misnomer. It's really just...
I never thought that was even a thing.
Yeah.
I thought it was just a rhythm game that had, like, stuff happening while you did it.
No. It is, like... So, again, like, there's the 4 different lines, and each one of those corresponds with one of your party members.
Right. But I just didn't think any of that really mattered. It was more like,
punch buttons in time to Final Fantasy music.
I thought that part was just sort of like a screensaver that reacted to your gameplay.
No, it actually is. You are controlling it. Yeah, and so after you finish, like,
your damn cat. What does any of that mean?
Yeah. So after you finish, you end up leveling up, and you get like all these different rewards. You'll unlock like tokens to unlock other Final Fantasy games, so you can add new characters to your party. But again, like, none of that stuff really matters, because the RPG stuff doesn't really matter. It's just a frivolity. It's just like, oh, I finished that, and now I need to see a bunch of stuff pop up on the screen, so I feel like I accomplished something, basically.
Very mobile gamey.
It is, and it is kind of surprising that it's not available for iOS and Android, although I wouldn't be surprised if that's
there
on the
one?
way.
I mean, not this one, but
Theatrhythm generally has been
it?
available, yeah. And this one probably, too, will eventually come to mobile, I'm guessing. Right now, again, it's only for Switch and PlayStation 4. And I'm surprised it didn't come to Xbox as well, because this is really one of those things that I think Final Fantasy fans are going to buy regardless of how good the actual gameplay is in the game, just because of the music and the nostalgia and being able to get that, again, 385 Final Fantasy songs. It's pretty crazy. Like, I don't even know how they hold that on one disc.
Compression.
Yeah. I mean, I'll say this too: the quality of the music sounds pretty good. And I was playing it on my big surround sound system at home, and I thought the audio sounded really good.
I mean, MP3s are not big.
Yeah. Is there anything else that's even worth mentioning? Not really. It is $50, which seems a little steep to me.
I mean, that you'd probably pay more for a CD collection.
For an OST of all those songs. Yeah, that's what I was getting at. So ultimately, if you're someone who really loves the music of Final Fantasy, and again,
I know it's not as flexible as what you could use the OST for in terms of what, and what tech you're going to put it on.
Yeah, like I couldn't put this disc in like my CD turntables,
right,
and use the tracks off of it,
or like rip it and put them all on an iPod or something. But exactly. They're all on Spotify anyway. Like this is a good way to have them all at your command. Your PS5 is probably hooked up to your sound system anyway.
Mm-hmm. But again, it's $50. That's a little steep to me. I would probably pay like $30 or $40 for it. Again, unless you just don't want to buy these OSTs separately, which we would end up spending more than $50 for sure if you bought them all separately. Maybe not.
Oh, this would be more. Hundreds.
Yeah,
like a box set of like all the Final Fantasy soundtracks. You'd be in the you'd be in the 200-300 range.
Yeah, so it is ultimately a pretty good deal. So maybe in that case, $50 isn't such a tough ask. But I think if you're buying this to play a video game, I would spend $30 max.
Yeah, but I feel like most people that are interested in this are going to be, they want the experience of it. They want the whole kind of like, this is sort of a love letter to the fans in some ways.
Yeah. And there's ultimately over 100 Final Fantasy characters that you can use to build your parties with.
There you go. Sneaky spent €350 on the 10-disc Final Fantasy VII Remix soundtrack set last year.
Just for Final Fantasy
VII?
Soundtracks are
very expensive, especially the nice ones. Hugely bad.
Then this is a good deal for that alone then. But yeah, otherwise that's pretty much all there is to
Vincent makes a good point. There's a free demo that has 30 songs. So if you want to know if you like it, that's more than enough to make the decision, I would think.
You can get a little taste of it and see if you're into it. I mean, I would argue that even though you can't hear the songs in this B-roll, I think just watching this B-roll is enough. So here was the one time I put it up to the higher difficulty. I got crushed.
Oh, I got diagonals now.
I couldn't keep it up. Yeah, I couldn't keep up at all. Like, I didn't even finish the song. I just failed it, basically. And I was like, okay, I'm going back to the other difficulty setting.
I think you can get there through practice.
Yeah, for
but it's
sure.
like the question of whether you want to practice this game.
With Rock Band, I ended up moving up to expert eventually. So, eventually if you practice enough, you absolutely can. I'm just saying, out of the box, like, it was a fool's errand me trying to play that higher difficulty. It was like a whole
AJ asks if the music's all available out of the box. You have to grind to unlock tracks.
Yes, you have to grind to unlock the tracks. Yeah. The music box doesn't even open until a certain point. Like, at first, the music box isn't even selectable. So you have to unlock the music box, and then you unlock all the songs. But I would argue, too, that, like, it only took me maybe 30 minutes or 40 minutes of playing the Final Fantasy VII stuff before I earned another token to unlock the Final Fantasy V stuff. And then 30 minutes after that, I got another token. So it unlocks pretty quickly. So it's not going to be one of these things where you buy this and, like...
So unless you really hate the rhythm game, you're probably fine.
Yeah. And actually, I think there's an easy setting on this, too, that's, like, really easy.
Right. And you're always choosing what unlocks, so it's like you can pick your favorite stuff first.
Yep, you can pick the entry every time. So, one token, one game. So you can go from Final Fantasy 1 all the way to 15, choosing which one you want to unlock the party members and the music for. So, it's user-friendly. I think Square Enix realizes that, like, a lot of people that are maybe going to buy this aren't going to be the most hardcore of players. They're just going to be big Final Fantasy fans. So, it is kind of
weird to say when you think about it, but it is true.
Yeah.
Not the most hardcore players, but big Final Fantasy fans.
Because it is a kind of its own little set of people at this point.
Yeah.
So anyway, there you go. That's Theatrhythm Final Bar line, available for PS4 and Switch for $50. And I would say if you're a Final Fantasy fan, like a hardcore one, it's probably a no-brainer purchase.
Yeah, you probably already have it.
Yeah, you probably already have it, and you're like, oh, Shane, I can't believe you couldn't play it on the harder difficulty.
Look at that
Sneaky
noob.
brings up that Rock Band is still going. There's new songs added every week, yeah? Just continues on somehow. There's somebody out there still buying those songs, because they have to be worth licensing.
Right.
So somebody's buying them still.
I go back and I pick up a bunch of the ones that I've missed, like about once a year. And then I never even play it.
Because you'd have to set everything up again.
Yeah. I keep thinking about that, though. I'm like, I've got that big living room, and I'm kind of like, you could have a really good Rock Band party there.
You could set it up permanently and not have to take it down.
The couch is in the way.
Yeah.
But, like, you could. And then I just don't, because I'd have to find the guitars. I'd have to find the fucking adapter. honestly, I would probably just play it on drag out the 360.
Yeah.
Because I do have everything transferred to one of my Xbox Ones.
Yeah.
But the only certain ones work, and the keyboard doesn't work on it, and I need the adapter for the drum kit. And I'm just like, oh, you know what? Maybe we'll just.
It gets too complicated. Yeah. Because that's the thing. You may need this little dinky adapter. That back when we played Rock Band, we were aware of it, and I probably even put it in some safe place.
Yeah, I definitely have it somewhere.
When I packed it away,
I have no idea.
I'm sure I put it in some little box, and I'm like, I can't lose this.
Yeah.
Because if I lose this, we can't play it anymore. But now I have no idea where that is. And like I said last week, talking about DJ Hero, it's like I'm kind of going through and purging stuff now, finding stuff that's not worth anything. And all that Rock Band stuff isn't worth anything.
Except probably that adapter.
Right. That adapter. That one little
that adapter is like $100.
Right. It's worth probably, like $200 or whatever. But I have like the crazy like real wooden guitars.
Yeah, I have
and
that.
Like,
yeah.
It's all worthless.
Oh,
like you can't even give that stuff away. Like so.
I have the Ion drum kit. I have all that stuff. Yeah. And it's just.
It was great while it lasted.
Oh, yeah,
I would still do it.
I would.
Like if somebody called me and said, Shane, we're going to have a Rock Band party tonight, I would go over and play.
Well, one day I probably will.
Do that, and I will come over. And I will show how I've forgotten how to play drums.
Yeah. I've never got
to play drums.
Like I was one of the things I was like, oh, it's cool moving into a house because like I couldn't play drums in my apartment because I downstairs neighbor. Every time I tried to put that, even like putting like I put like matting and stuff, and she'd just be like, no. I'm like fair enough.
Yeah.
So I only got good at the guitar and the keyboard.
Yeah.
But
I learned how to play drums. I learned how to overcome the playing with the hands and the feet at the same time thing, which is the big hump you need to get over to play drums. I had been in bands my whole life, and like practice is over. I would go sit at the drum kit, and the drummer would like try to teach. I could never do it. I could never get over the hump. Rock Band taught me how to do it, which is pretty cool.
I remember Kevin Pereira used to say, like on Expert, it's just playing the drums.
Just playing drums. Yep, absolutely. So I miss those days. We used to have a lot of fun playing Rock Band, just all over the city. There was a Rock Band party every weekend.
Oh, you didn't even need to say Rock Band. Just, there's a party.
There's going to be Rock Band.
We're playing Rock Band. Like, that's all it was.
And then you may mix in, like, Wii Sports at the end when people get tired.
Yeah. Enough people go home. Like, we'll play some
Let's
Wii
play some
bowling.
Yeah. It's crazy. Those were the good days.
Everybody bring your Wiimote.
Yeah.
Like, people just carry their Wiimote in their back pocket.
That's right. It's hilarious. Those were the days. The good old days. So anyway, there you go. That's Theatrhythm Final Bar Line. Next up. Matt has been doing some sleuthing through the Steam Next Fest, which just ended, and he played a bunch of demos, and I asked him to choose the 3 games that really hit him.
And that was 2 weeks ago, so hopefully I remember these.
Yeah, well, you should. The first one is the System Shock Remaster.
Right.
Someone asked earlier in chat, I can't remember who it was, System Shock Remaster or Atomic Heart?
Ooh, probably System Shock.
Yeah.
System Shock does feel kind of archaic, but it doesn't feel as messy, I guess, if that makes any sense. Like, it does feel old.
It does, yeah.
It's but it all kind of hangs together a little better.
It felt like I was playing an N64 game at times.
Yeah, there's a little bit of that. And to me, it felt like it reminded me of playing like PC stuff in the late 1990s because that's literally what it is.
Yep.
And there's that element of like, oh, you're not going to help me.
Yeah.
You kind of hinted to me that this is a thing I can do, and then you're just not going to help. I need to get real close to things to see they can be interacted with. I can miss stuff easily. This is one of those legendary
games that people like you and I have talked about for years.
Yeah. Well,
a lot of the younger people in our audience are probably like, what is up with it?
Yeah. Well, the other
Shane...
problem here is that this isn't the legendary one.
Yeah.
System Shock 2 is the great System Shock game. But I would argue that if you don't play this one, System Shock 2 doesn't have the impact it should. Yeah. Because Shodan's evolution in 2, if you don't know what happens with Shodan in 1, I don't think it has the same kind of punch.
True. Yeah.
But the downside is that Shodan is not as prevalent a character in this one. It's good. It's very repetitive in some, like, we want to talk about the same enemy over and over again.
Yeah.
But early on, it's all you can handle, so it's not like you want it to be harder.
This wasn't made in 2023. Times have changed,
and it does retain the difficulty and the unforgiving aspect. And they find your way, figure it out. Oh, you went through the wrong duct. Now you're in the middle of too bad.
Yep.
Like,
it was pretty unforgiving. Lots of games were like that back then, though.
Yeah,
you were punished for making
PC.
mistakes.
Like PC stuff, especially this kind of stuff, was like, oh, you're gonna have to get there. Like, Doom wasn't there to help you.
Yeah, you were punished for making mistakes. Absolutely. Back then. Games aren't really like that anymore because people bristle. Mm-hmm. They're like, oh, really?
Well, work with me. It's like, no, if you ran out of ammo, you better be good with punch and sit, or you had a good save somewhere.
Yeah, exactly. That was the other thing too. Scum saving, just saving every 10 minutes or whatever, figuring out what the hotkey was.
Better believe you're doing that in this one.
Oh yeah. Hell yeah. I mean, this may have been one of the first games where I really learned to scum save, to be honest.
So don't let the intro there fool you. You're not in a Blade Runner open world city or anything. You get arrested right here and taken to a space station where they want you to, some rich guy wants you to hack something, and then everything goes wrong and you're trapped on the space station as robots take over. The AI Shodan is basically rebelling because she doesn't want to be a slave.
Yeah.
Fair. But so you're stuck on this space station trying to find your way off, basically. And it's one of the original, it may be the original, what you'd call an immersive sim.
It is, absolutely. It started the genre.
Yeah.
This and Deus Ex.
Yeah, this was before Deus Ex.
Yeah.
Same people.
Yep.
And this is the first one. And it was at the time, it was you could just pick anything up. Like that, no one had ever done that before.
Gosh.
And
most far out of the realm of reason back then.
Right, and most of what you can pick up is junk. It is junk. Yeah. But there's a reason to, because you can recycle it in the recycle bins and get money for it, which was so you can just drag around almost anything you can see that's not nailed down. You can pick up and turn into some form of benefit to you later if you can spare the inventory space. And that was amazing then. Nowadays, you're just like, oh, inventory, man. Back then, it was like, I have an inventory?
Right. And I can throw stuff in there and get money for it later?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the story is pretty
Different
good.
Time.
This is a pretty solid. I mean, obviously, this is a remake because they had to build. It's so old they had to rebuild it.
Redo everything.
But it's very truthful. It's all. I don't know if anything's changed. God, even the controls don't really feel all that updated.
I know. Yeah.
It's. And I see the chat talking about they're not sure about the aesthetics of it. Yeah, it does look very different.
Yeah.
Because they're doing kind of a more it's not a modern take on cyber, but they're still doing this the mahogany office, screen keyboard thing, Blade Runner. They're doing an 80s cyberpunk with this in terms of aesthetic, but it does look so slick that it feels a little off. But I will also say that sometimes your character's hand is close up and you can see all the pixels.
Yeah.
There is nods
interesting
to that.
How they've handled this.
Even Shodan's face there, that's not a modern amount of polygons.
But it's improved.
But it still looks retro.
It's interesting how they've approached this. Because they're like, we're not going to go all the way.
Yeah,
it's
even when you pick up the little discs with those look really pixelated.
Yeah.
And I think that's intentional.
But the game still looks significantly better than the original. It's very interesting.
If you played it on a modern PC, the window would be so small you wouldn't be able to see anything. It'll be
it's true.
Literally a postage stamp.
Yeah.
So I mean, look, it's hard. I don't know if I will go through this whole thing because I played System Shock several times back in the day, and I am one of those people that's like, things move on.
Yeah.
I do have it. So 3 people got this for me for my birthday.
Wow.
On Steam, and that's how I found out that if multiple people give you the same game, you can only accept it once.
So what happens to their purchases?
It gets sent back to them.
Okay.
So
they got refunded.
Yeah, they got the first person who sent it to me. I got it, and then the others I had to send back with. You can send a little note saying why you're rejecting it, and I'm just like, I can't take it because other people already got it for me. I can't,
Interesting.
But so it's cool. I do like it. It definitely brings back those feelings of playing it again, and without the frustration of visuals where I'm like, what am I looking at? I think it's a really good update of a game that's probably very hard to update in terms of making it modern playable, but also not alienating the people who love it.
Without ruining it, basically.
Yeah, this is
for the fans.
I mean, I think they scrapped the whole thing and
they rebuilt the whole thing. Yeah, they did.
Yeah, at one point. I mean, I understand why that would happen with this because it is such a high wire act. But I think they did a pretty good job with it.
I agree. I think they hit the perfect sweet spot with this for sure. It's modern enough that it won't offend players that didn't know what it was.
Yeah, it doesn't feel like it's too obtuse to be playable by someone who grew up, in the 2000s.
Yeah.
But it also does not dumb it down to make someone who played it back in the day feel like they're being
it's not
fed some kind of watered down version of it.
I agree. Is this available now to buy?
I mean, you can pre-order it. I think it comes out next month.
Okay. And it's a demo. Did all these demos go away?
Some of them did.
Did they?
But not all. Like, I can still play this demo.
Yeah, I think.
But some of the others I can't play anymore, and I don't know. I think that seems to have been up to the developer.
Okay, but anyway, there you go. That's the System Shock remake, and it is a remake coming out next month. Second game that you talked about, Matt, was a game called Ravenbound.
Yeah. So Ravenbound, I'd never heard of this before this
I hadn't either.
Steam event.
Yeah. It's floated under my radar.
Ravenbound is a roguelike. It's a roguelike, but it's also kind of a Dark Souls thing, but it's also open world, really open world, and it's based on Norse mythology. So what you're seeing here is
it another Valheim?
Kind of. No, it's not Valheim because you're not building things. But so the gimmick here is, like, you do the first part is like very Dark Soulsy. You're running through a little dungeon, and you have to fight some bosses and some monsters, and then you get out. The story begins, and you go out, and it kicks you out in this big open world, and you transform into a bird, and you can fly over the whole world, and you can land and transform back into your human form whenever you want.
It's pretty cool.
And then you have to run over to there's like a little like bird stand, and it'll pop you back up as a bird. So basically, it's entirely up to you whether you fight things in the world or beeline to the end of the quest. The only difference is how powerful you are, how much you think you can take things on. And then there's all these things to do in the main world where, like, you can go find chests and things, but like early on, your goodies and loot and chests and stuff are they're corrupted. They have hate on them, which is like a glowing red thing. And you have in the corner, I don't think it's on this early footage, but in the corner you have these 3 slots, and they hold like rune stones or like little like material, crafting materials basically. And what happens is, when you get 3 in the slots, you can do a synthesis thing with them, and it draws a bunch of cards for you. And those cards you can use to upgrade your character. Or they have other effects on the environment or other effects on things. Like they can up the difficulty sometimes. And you have to have mana. Some of them give you mana. So you need mana that you get from other cards to implement the upgrade cards. And some of them are very powerful. There's like 60% bonus critical hit damage.
Oh.
Or like, some of these are very strong. And you have to use more and more to unlock. You have to do more and more in the world to unlock the more slots to put cards in, basically. So that's how you make your character more powerful in preparation to fight the big boss of the zone. The trick is that if you don't like do the mini boss stuff that undoes the hate in an area, you can still get stuff out of the chests and get the loot, but you have to absorb the hate, and that gives you a hate crystal in one of your slots, and that unlocks.
We need some of those things for the internet.
And that unlocks a card. You can see a hate chest over there, so that's not cleared yet. But you can absorb that, and it'll create a hate crystal in one of your 3 slots. And so when you do the synthesis next time, that instead of becoming a card that helps you, it becomes a hate card, which makes things more difficult. Okay. And if you absorb too much hate, it can take over. It colors the outline of the slots red, and if it covers a slot completely, that becomes a hate slot, which is always a crystal. So you have to clear that out by beating bosses and clearing tombs.
Someone is asking in chat, is it an Elden Ring randomizer, basically?
A little bit. Yeah. That's not entirely. It's not wrong.
That's from ETH Demon.
Yeah, I could see that. I could see it being described that way. It is not mechanically as good as Elden Ring, but I don't think anyone would reasonably expect that. The combat is actually much more action RPG than From games. Like this is much more combo, like overwhelmed with combos, like jump off guys do. I think
it's
this
not like you get hit twice and you
no,
die.
and there is no stamina bar. Management to speak of. Like there's some, like there is a stamina bar, there is some of that, but like it does not really affect you in combat unless you're fighting enemies way too high for you, and you got to do like a 40 hit combo and then you're running out of
combat looks a little janky.
It is a little janky, but it is still very early. But it feels pretty good.
Yeah.
Like you can stagger guys, you can parry stuff, and like staggering them like will knock them over, and you can like do more damage with your combos that way. There's the cards being synthesized there. 7 additional mana on your next level up. That's great. Like the armor, that's 27% armor. Like the upgrades are not nothing. That's I think that's plus 150% damage.
Yeah, it's a lot. Yeah.
Yeah, like the upgrades are significant, and they feel like, so you can see there, like you can only afford the sword and shield because you don't have enough mana to play the other two, which are 5.
Right. Yeah.
So yeah, like there's definitely jank in it. It is not finished by any stretch of the imagination, but it actually has. We keep bringing it up. Like, I thought of it when you talked about in Hogwarts Legacy how there's always something to find to do in the world. Mm-hmm. This one's like that too.
Oh,
like when you're flying around as the bird, you can see all the little icons that show you what's, it's not as organic probably, but you're flying around as the bird and you can see all the little icons like tell you what, that's a camp of my enemies, and that's where you can see the glowing red lines where all the hate chests are. But you can also detect like where the tomb or whatever you need to go to clear the hate of that area was, so you can go, okay, I'll deal with some of these camps, and then that'll level me up, and I'll get another couple synthesis rounds and get more cards. Then I'll go to this tomb and fight the enemies there, and then when you do that, you can destroy the totem that's basically like causing the hate, and you go back around and collect all the loot that you weren't able to get without corrupting your thing.
It's a really down and him go boof.
Yeah, it's really cool.
It reminded me a lot of Hogwarts Legacy when you're on the broom and you just cruise down and just jump off the broom and off you go into combat.
Yeah,
I love that feeling.
The loop on this is really satisfying.
That's great.
So yeah, this was just one I saw that I was like, oh, that looks interesting, and
when is it coming out?
I don't know if it has any kind of estimated date yet.
Yeah. Someone.
So yeah, Ravenbound.
Yeah. And do you know if it's only for PC right now?
As far as I know, yeah.
Okay.
So.
And then your final pick, and this one I was kind of surprised after I was like grabbing some B-roll for, is a game called Sailing Era.
Yeah, so this actually wasn't from this. This is not a demo. This is out.
Oh, it's out.
Yeah.
But it was a part of the Next Fest?
I found it through the recommended stuff through that, yeah.
Gotcha, okay.
I think it came out during the Next Fest or something. This is a Chinese game.
I like how it says the world was connected, and the world is...
So this is a game about like sailing ships, like the tall ships era. Mm-hmm. That seems very influenced by Octopath.
Really?
So, and a little bit in the art you can see, but this is a story-driven game, which is actually mostly sailing and trading, and a little bit of pirate combat. You go in, you've seen all these characters pop up. When you start, you get a map of the world, of the Eastern Hemisphere, and you can pick any of this, I think it's 6 characters to start with, and they all have different stories. And it encourages you to go through and play each story because they all overlap with each other.
Okay, so that's the Octopath analog.
Yeah, and basically, so there's like a Japanese character and a Portuguese character and a Chinese character and an African or Middle Eastern. There's a bunch of different countries represented, and it determines where you start in the world. But here's the trick. The whole planet is in this game. You will discover the new world. Any major port city in the world you can think of is probably in this game.
I'm seeing more of the Octopath comparisons.
Yeah, you see what I mean? Yeah, that's just aesthetic. So you can see that's the sailing. Like you get these ships and you sail around. You have a fleet, and you have to assign all your different companions to their different roles on each ship, and so you have to determine who's the captain of all the other ships, and they'll support you, and you have your main guy who does stuff. You can run out of money real easy. You gotta track the economy and figure out like the market for this is good over here, but nobody wants it over here, so I gotta get it here in Portugal and sail this over to northern Africa, and then they'll give me these goods, the ivory, and I'll take that over to Lima, and it's like and slowly you start to realize like, oh, this game is gigantic. It's the first game I've played in forever where knowing geography, they'll just tell you like, oh, you need to take these to Genoa. It's somewhere to the east. I'm like, I know where Genoa is. Otherwise I think I would have missed it because it's kind of nestled up in the corner of the top part of like upper western Italy, where it curves into the rest of Europe. If you didn't know that, you could have totally missed it. And you can do like exploration things where you can go and do like land journeys and explore the interior and come back with goodies and resources for that. You can like set a lookout, so you have a lookout. Your ship moves slower, but you have like discovery, like a radius around it, and you go near things and you'll find like encounters or like ruins or like things you can discover and then report back to like the aristocrats and say like, hey, there's ruins of things over here, and like, oh, we're gonna go steal all the artifacts from that, thank you, here's your finder's fee. And so and like you can take bounties on and they'll tell you where to go to like fight people. So there is actually ship combat where you can like it runs a little similarly to Assassin's Creed, except it's still obviously pulled way out, and you're sort of waiting for the cannons to reload, and then you can tell them to go, and like you've got the angle on like what your firing radius is. And you can aim to damage their ship. You can change bullet types. It's like it's just this incredible mix of like Octopath and Sid Meier's Pirates and Suikoden.
Wow.
That like it's like it was made for me. And I don't know if anyone else would like this game, but I'm like, holy shit. And like so now you're sailing into the Mediterranean here. Like that's the mouth of the Mediterranean. Yeah. And there's a bunch of shit where they just all the ports are different.
Really?
The background art, they all look different. Like you can tell if you're in Tunisia or Spain or Italy. Like they all look like they're culturally like they're supposed to. And all the goods at all the places are correct. And like there's different like in the Middle East, they don't have taverns, they have like coffee houses and stuff. It's all very historically like kind of a nod to it without being like slavishly weird about like you're not trading people at any point as far as I've seen. But like and like you meet up with all these different, there's a lot of alternate universe stuff. Like obviously the Portuguese are probably not establishing an oversea route to China anytime soon in the 1300s, but you can do that if you want. Like it's fascinating.
How's the plot? Is the story good enough to keep you going?
Story's all right. Like I've been playing the Portuguese kid because that's like the recommended starting character, and he just wants to be the greatest navigator in the world. And weirdly, he tells people that in taverns. They're like, "All right, I'll go be on your ship." I'm like, I would not put my life in the hands of a 17-year-old kid who's just like, "I want to be the best." Anyway, I was like, "Okay, Pokemon Master, like call me when you own a sloop," But and there's like things where it is very anime and so like in the early on you meet like this, you get like your benefactor is this scholar, this woman who's this scholar, and she's like has money for an expedition and a ship and stuff, so you kind of start with that, and then she's like, oh, you're pretty good, we'll keep doing this, and you help me find things I need to find for my research, and I think we got a partnership. But early you're in the tavern, it's like a woman in a scholar's clothing comes to talk to you, and then it pops her picture up, and she's wearing like half a bustier with her boobs falling out and like a skirt that maybe comes down to like an her inch below her butt. Yeah. And you're like, oh yeah, scholar's outfit. Absolutely. Scholar's clothing. So there's a lot of that in it.
I can kind of tell from the B-roll.
A little cringy. You remember Magna Carta?
Yeah.
Those games. It's like that. It's like, oh, you're just sort of randomly horny.
Yeah.
At times. But
the buxom.
Yeah. Sometimes. And I mean, everybody's kind of hot.
Yeah.
Not elderly. But
perfect timing.
The main character, that's your other. William is one of your other main guys for the Portuguese thing. He's like your third companion you get.
Yeah.
And he's he likes to be in the map room and doing so. Yeah. It's and he also becomes like your first like. The one thing I will say, it doesn't hold you by the hand very much, and it'll give you quests where like one of the quests early on for that guy William is like assign him captain of your second ship, and you're like, second ship? Yeah, you have to buy a second ship. I don't have it anywhere. It's like, yeah, we'll get to it. It's like, so like, okay, I'm going to be grinding the trade routes for a while before I can afford a second ship.
Yeah.
And it costs money every time you go into port and leave because you have to replenish your supplies. So if you're not figuring out the trade system early on, you're going to run out of cash.
You're gonna be broke.
And that's a bad thing. You're going to be in trouble. But some of this stuff, like, so you're you end up kind of maybe after the first round of quests, you've got like 30, 40,000 gold, which will get you through, like maybe you're spending 200 to 600 for each port, replenishment of port. So you're not like, hugely hurting for cash, but like there are bounty quests even early on that pay mid six figures.
Wow.
And you just got to decide whether you want to take the risk of having, it's like I'm like, 600,000 gold. Yeah. They want me to travel all the way down to like the Red Sea.
And you can get stuck and
you get stuck, and there's other pirates that aren't even the guys you're hunting. And like, it'll warn you when you get into areas like, this is a dangerous part of the world. You might not want to be here right now.
Yeah.
And like, but you got to go through because you got to get that port because that's what they want, silk. And if that's going to be so much money if you get the silk. It's and like there's storms and weather. And it's like, it's
crazy.
Really cool.
Yeah.
Like it's just like this little weird game that nobody fucking ever heard of.
PC only.
PC only right now, yeah.
How much does it cost,
Oh, I want to say it was like $20.
Sounds about right.
Maybe it was 15 like launch day or something, but I think it's 20 or 25.
Yep. And that is called Sailing Era. Are you still playing it?
I am still playing it periodically.
Yeah.
Because it's just an easy thing to just jump in and do a couple runs, and that's or it could become like Midnight Suns, where you're just like, oh my god, I've been doing this for hours. Because it has a Civilization style one more trip thing to it.
Now the Steam Next Fest in general, do you feel like it was
$24.99? AJ says.
Okay.
So, okay.
Do you feel like it was a good year for the Steam Next Fest? Relative to
I thought it was,
years?
and there is a demo. I did play the demo first, Vincent, before I decided to buy it because I thought it looked cool, but I did try the demo.
Okay.
So try the demo. If you think it looks cool, you'll probably like it.
It looks like a big time killer.
Yeah.
Time just whips on by while you're playing one of those things. Yeah, it's just like playing Civ or something. Like
but just like this,
one more turn.
Yeah, just and the expansiveness of the world is amazing. It's just like as you begin to realize that the whole world is in this game.
Yeah.
Like I'm like,
oh, that's
really neat.
Yeah.
Like this, so it's cool.
Yeah. What about Steam Next Fest in general? Was it a good year for it?
Yeah, I mean, I played a bunch of other demos, but those are the main ones.
Any other
stuck
game
out.
that just?
I can't remember. What was the other one? Planet of Lana. Was that?
Yeah.
Yeah, Planet of Lana was really good.
We brought that up in our indie preview, I think, for the year.
And that's been in like some major showcase. I think that was in Microsoft's or Sony's showcase.
You were happy with it?
That was really good. Yeah. Very, very much a kind of puzzle solving. So, in the
I think it's out now too.
Maybe, yeah. In the vein of it's either out now or soon. Like by the end of February, I think it was.
Okay.
So that's in the vein of like Inside or something like that, and it's very cute. The little
like a puzzle
platformer. You got a little ball cat alien thing, which is adorable, that helps you with the puzzles, and reminds me of Heart of Darkness a little bit because there's so many black gooey tentacles everywhere.
Yeah.
But no, that was very charming. Just a really nice update of a kind of a classic side-scrolling genre.
It's crazy how many demos there were during that Next Fest. There's so many. Like, it was overwhelming to me. I was like, when you told me you were on it, I was like, thank God. I'll let Matt wrangle this. It was just so much.
There's a lot. Vincent says Lana's Q2, and the demo's still up. So go play that demo. It's a solid, like, maybe half hour.
Okay.
With some really nice visuals and places. Give you a good feel of the world and what you're going to be doing.
All right. There you go. That's Steam Next Fest. One of those things that we jump on and handle for you guys. We'll do the legwork, and you guys can just reap the rewards. And with that, it's time for... It's time for Name That Game, Matt.
I can't hear that, so...
I have to let it play out before I jump back in. It's the little theme song that Sneaky made for us, actually, and I thank you again for that. It's time for Name That Game, a little game we play on every episode of GameFace, where I show you 5 screenshots and you try to guess the name of the game. A couple rules before we get going. The chat is put on slow mode, which means you can only guess once every 60 seconds. So do not just spam the chat. You're going to lose. That's pretty much how it goes. In fact, I think a couple weeks ago somebody lost because they spammed the chat instead of waiting for their chance to make a pick. So first of all, slow mode. Don't just start spamming names. Second of all, if you've won already this year, do not play. You cannot win twice within a calendar year. Don't give people hints. Don't do anything. Don't type anything. Just sit back and chill and watch everybody else have fun. The objective here is to beat Matt. You have to come up with the name of the game before Matt. You guys win all ties. If Matt names the name of the game and I look over, I'll give it a beat or two to wait to see if it shows up in the chat. If it does, you guys get the win. We want you guys to win. And now that I know for a fact that he's here today, make sure you guys all thank Swanland, because he is the one who's supplying all the game codes for the winners. And by the way, if you win a free game. The person who won last week, and it's all random, by the way. I don't actually select the game. I have a list of games, and whoever wins gets the very next one. And there's a little bit of luck involved. Some people get really good stuff. Some people just get something interesting that maybe they might want to check out. But it's all random, and I don't pick favorites or whatever as far as what games you guys end up getting. But again, thanks Swanland, because without him, this game does not happen. All right. We are ready for Name That Game for episode 331. Again, don't spam the chat, and don't play if you've already won this year. And here is the first image.
If you want to call it that. Mass Effect.
Not Mass Effect. It's not Wanted Dead, Eric Cartman.
Looks too good to be Wanted Dead.
Last of Us, no.
We already did Last of Us.
What I'm finding is that people now are nervous to guess on the first image because they're
there you go.
They're afraid. Halo 5, no. Life is Strange, no. Borderlands, no. Ace Combat 7, no. 50 Cent, no. Tekken 5,
Blood
no.
on the motherfucking sand.
Metal Gear Solid, no. Sea of Thieves, no. Lost Planet, no. Twisted Metal Black, interesting, no. Andy T. Monahan just got it.
Wow.
Kingdom Hearts 3. We have a winner. Wow. You guys are just too damn good. I mean, how did he get that, I mean, that could have been
anything.
Anything. That could have been any 3D platformer. It could have been any whimsical game. It could have been any of the Sly Cooper games. It could have been anything. How? You got to help us here, Andy. How did you get that? Because that is amazing, man. I mean, I know where the screenshot comes from, and that is just like a little patch of the ground texture where the rock is like raised up a little bit.
Hercules level texture, he says.
That is crazy, man. Wow. You guys just blow me away at this every week.
Body Harvest.
Emperor Dread didn't even get Body Harvest.
Didn't even get in there until after it was over. Right.
That is just amazing, Andy. Again, a round of applause. You guys are just incredible. Really, it's amazing how good you guys are at this. Shneaky's asking about Google reverse image. I don't think that
I don't think that really matters. Yeah, like
I don't think that piece is enough for it to return.
I started trying that after you started questioning that with like other things, and like it's just not that prevalent.
It works pretty well. You can find people.
You can find, but not with like Zoom stuff like this. You'd have to find something that's almost exactly the same shot.
And because I bet
if you put that in, you're gonna get shots of nighttime glaciers and from real life.
You're probably right.
Like it's not. You're not gonna find that game.
Well, here are the rest of them, and I don't know if these maybe would have given away, but since you got on the first one, it doesn't matter. Here's the second image, and that
I wouldn't have known that.
You would have known.
I would not.
You would not. So that is a spell that I just zoomed in on, where the ground is starting to raise up a little bit. I thought that might have given it away for some people, but I wasn't sure. Here's the third one.
With a hand.
The hand there. You know whose hand that is?
Looks like Woody's.
Yep.
Yeah.
So I figured just the hand might be enough to give it away there. Here's the fourth image. And that floor texture.
Yeah, you spent a lot of time in that level.
Yeah. So I thought would definitely give it away, and then if not, this one definitely would have.
Yeah.
Showing the iconic shoes.
Death before dishonor.
Exactly. So Andy, amazing job, man. You guys just continue to blow me away at Name That Game. It really is amazing that you guys can pull this stuff out of your mind. Somewhere there's just this little piece of a memory that you guys are able to pull out at that moment. It's incredible. You guys astound me every single week at this. So Andy, make sure you send me a DM. You can send it here on Twitch. Or you can send it to me on Twitter at Dinfire, or you can send it to Sifted on Twitter at Sifted Games, or you can send it to me on Sifted at Shane. Either way, we'll get your game out to you, and I'll make sure that I do that before I leave to go home for my friend's memorial as well. I'll make sure I get that to you. So congratulations once again. Just amazing. And now, because the game ended so quickly, we have lots of time for Q&A. We haven't been able to do Q&A really for the last like 3 or 4 episodes because we ended up going over. We actually have some time to do a legitimate Q&A today. So if you guys have questions, hit us up. Nox Adernitis, thank you for Twitch Prime. That's awesome. Here's our first one from Wampler13. Matt, which PlayStation VR 2 game are you playing first? What games did you buy? Any games?
I only got Horizon. Horizon comes with a bundle.
Oh, okay. So you ended up having to buy a bundle, or
That's what Sony sells. I think.
Okay.
I can't remember if I could have picked the VR without it, but I think maybe you could. I got it because I knew that was the one. That's the flagship game, so why not?
Have you been reading the reviews for it?
Yeah, I mean it's pretty much what I expected.
It's exactly what I said it was. Yeah. Climb.
Climbing
shoot.
simulator, shoot some things. It sure looks pretty.
Shoot. Yeah. But it seems to be people seem to be enjoying it for the most part.
Yeah, it seems to be fine.
Yeah.
So I guess that, and I'll look at what I'll probably play that and it's not Until Dawn, but the Dark Pictures. Shooter
the
thing.
carnival ride thing.
Yeah, the one like the Rush of Blood.
Rush of Blood, yeah.
Rush of Blood 2. Really,
yeah.
let's be honest.
Was that in the bundle, or did you buy that separately?
I would have to buy that separately. I'll just look at PSN when it comes out. I'm sure they'll all be up on the front page of PSN, and I'll just get what I want to get there.
Yeah.
Which will probably be that and like one other thing.
And again, we'll cover that in the next episode.
I'll probably, if there's anything backwards compatible from the old PSVR stuff that I already had, I'll probably try that.
Yeah.
If it exists, to see how it works.
Shane didn't come in today. That would have been perfect timing.
Yeah, I mean it was supposed to, but it just didn't.
That's shipping.
I mean tomorrow's the release day. I was a little surprised.
Yeah, that you're going to get it a day early. Yeah.
I wonder if it even would have worked.
Probably. Yeah. I mean,
I don't think I would have been able to get Horizon.
I bet you would.
It was a code.
Oh.
So I don't think I would have been able to download it.
I bet you would have. Because
it wouldn't start.
Sony's so desperate to
Yeah, but they would. That thing is locked until whatever time.
Yeah.
So it probably wouldn't unlock till like 9 tonight.
Maybe. I mean, if they knew that they shipped them, then people may get them a day early.
You're giving Sony a lot of credit there.
I try. I try to give everyone the benefit of the doubt if I can. Okay, so basically, Horizon.
Play Horizon and Dark Pictures. Yeah. Rush of Blood 2. That's what it is.
That's what it should be called.
Play those are probably the first two I would play.
Yeah.
And then I'll have to go look at whatever else is there.
Okay. Swanland. Were you talking about Scars Above next week? I don't believe so.
What's that?
I'm not even familiar with that game, Swanland.
I don't know.
I don't even know what you're talking about, unfortunately. I'll check it out, though, after the show. Maybe if it's on Sifted, I'll search for it. Zed Saber Juno, what's your favorite Oreo? You guys don't ask us very many, ask us anything questions for our Q&A. It's always game related.
I mean,
These questions are totally fine, by the way.
A few weeks ago, I had the most Oreo at my friend's birthday, which is just triple stuff with bits of Oreo in it.
Oh.
Which was very good.
So it didn't have cookies at all?
Oh, it did.
The cookies were in
No, they had cookies,
cream.
but the cream also had bits of Oreo cookie in it.
Interesting.
That's very good.
I just like the OG Oreos the best. They're my favorite.
They're
and not
fine.
even the double stuff. I can't eat as many of the double stuff.
No, I like this. I'm there for the cream.
Oh, really?
When I used to eat lots of Oreos, and I don't really anymore, but I used to
because they're so terrible for
they
you.
are. You're just eating
I just can't eat stuff like that anymore.
If you really want to power down the hydrogenated vegetable oil,
yeah,
that is what you're after.
That's what it is. Yeah.
But I would stack 5 or 6 together, and I would get rid of the cookie discs. I don't care
really?
about I'm just here for the cream.
Yeah, I think the Oreos are the perfect mix of the cookie and the cream.
But
so
in
I
terms
like
of flavor stuff, I mean, honestly, the best thing about the Oreo flavors, if you just look up on YouTube, look up Brennan Oreo flavors. Is Brennan Lee Mulligan does an amazing skit for College Humor about he's the CEO of Oreo who's just come in for the first time in years, and they're telling him all these flavors. He's like, why are you we're Oreo.
Yeah.
We won.
It's one cookie.
We are the cookie. You guys can go home. You can just rest. He's
That's
he's
funny.
and they're like, strawberry milkshake. What is strawberry milkshake? It really has it has the texture of a strawberry milkshake, or does it have the texture of a cookie? It's just him breaking down that they've made 4,000 flavors, and he's like, we don't need it.
All the spin-offs, I don't really care for any of them all that much. I do like
I like a lot of the ones that involve peanut butter and chocolate together.
I like the vanilla cookies with the fudge cream as well. They're kind of
that's
the
good.
Keebler Elves cookies, but they're Oreos.
EL fudge.
Yeah.
That's a good combo. The golden Oreo. I love the fudge covered, or that's probably my favorite Oreo is the fudge covered.
Those come in the special packaging.
Yeah, those are Christmas. The white fudge covered Oreo is my favorite Oreo. That's it.
The Legacy. Thank you for Twitch Prime. 16 months and a 4-month streak. That's awesome. Thank you, man. AJ the Legend Watson. Any expectations for Sony's upcoming Direct? That was just announced today. Said the third-party focus for the most part, and there was one game that they said they're going. Suicide Squad killed Justice League. It's going to be a big focus.
Oh boy,
I'm looking forward to that, honestly, because we haven't seen how the damn thing plays.
Yeah, I mean,
we haven't seen a lick of gameplay for that game yet.
We've seen. I mean, there was gameplay last year.
I mean, it's cut into the trailers. We've never just watched.
No, there was
play.
There was a gameplay trailer, from I think it was it the Game Awards. There is a gameplay, or they're fighting on the roofs and stuff.
Yeah, but that doesn't show the gameplay loop.
No, it doesn't show the gameplay.
Or the camera that you're going to play the game from, the behind or over the shoulder camera.
It's not behind over the. It's first person.
Oh, it's first person. You can't see the characters at all.
From that trailer. Yeah.
See, this is what I'm telling you. We don't know anything about the game.
Well,
I didn't know it played in first person.
That doesn't show the HUD, but it does show playing the game in a rough way.
I'm surprised it's in first person. Actually.
I think it's in first person.
Why pay for that
it's
license?
fucking Borderlands. It's Borderlands with characters I don't give a shit about.
Yeah, but you pay that much for the license, you'd think you'd want to show the characters you paid for as much as possible. But that's the game I want to see. There's still a lot of mystery around that game for me. Anything else you want to mention?
For Sony?
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, imagine.
How about anything that's coming in the second half of the year?
Probably not.
They're not going to show any of that.
No, I mean, we'll probably see the Jedi Survivor.
Maybe.
I would think.
Maybe.
Because that's soon.
But right now, IGN has that big exclusive stuff going on.
Yeah, but they'll still do something.
Maybe.
It's the last chance to push it.
Yeah.
We'll probably see some indies. I don't know.
I'm guessing PSVR stuff because they'll
probably showcase. Is it PlayStation specific or just Sony?
It's PlayStation specific, yeah.
Okay, so we won't. I was gonna say they could. Maybe they'll show some factions.
Maybe. That would be the last thing that they show, I guess.
Yeah, The Last of Us.
That would be the best chance for anything first party.
Because you might want to mention that the PC version of Last of Us Part 1's coming right at the end of the season of the TV show.
Which segues nicely into our next question from Congrim. Have you been keeping up with the Last of Us HBO series? Absolutely. I watch it as soon as it goes up. If so, what are your thoughts so far? It's effing amazing. It's great.
Better in the game, I think.
It might be.
It's a better story telling of the story than the game.
Oh, I'd agree with that, for sure. Yeah. But I mean, the conceits and the things you have to do for a video game, organically it makes it more difficult, I believe, to tell a story in a game.
Well, I probably don't want an episode of Joel just walking through a building, rummaging through everything until someone attacks him.
That's coming, man. That's season 2. It's amazing. It's great. I've loved every episode. I would argue this last episode was the weakest of them all. The one that just aired.
It covered a lot of ground.
It did, but
it was interesting.
It felt like it was a utility episode.
The people I know who didn't play the game do not feel that way in any way.
Oh, really?
They thought it was amazing. They thought it was great to see in Joel's mind a little bit more. And the best part is the people that have no idea what's coming and didn't think he was going to find Tommy till the final episode.
Oh, right.
And the people who think he's dead now.
Oh, right.
And I'm like, I'm not saying anything. I'm not talking to you.
Quiet.
Yeah, and like, good luck. You know?
Yeah.
Well, especially because like the next episode is the Left Behind. It's the flashback to Ellie's origin story.
Yeah.
So there's a chance they don't even tell us that Joel's still alive until like 2 episodes from now.
Really?
Because if the next one's just a flashback of her out in the surviving, they may not show Joel till like the last shot or like the next episode or like because I think it's set. The next one is the Left Behind. It's the flashback stuff while she's hunting the rabbit or whatever, and like in the game with the bow and arrow probably or whatever she's doing. And then the 8th one has to be David and that crew, and then the 9th one has to be them finding Marlene and the Fireflies.
Right.
Yeah. So that's what we got.
This episode moved a lot forward. I mean, it jumped. I was like, man, I spent like 9 hours in the game.
Yeah, that was like 4 hours of the game. Like it was.
It just a bam, bam, bam.
But it cut tons. But
that's
also,
why I said it felt like a utility episode. They're like, look, we need to get to point B now.
Well, right, because there's nothing else. There's no other story in that part of the game. Like you're just telling a story now. You don't have to entertain me with
open world 14, or whatever.
14 sneaking through clicker nest things, which got old anyway.
Yeah.
But like you notice that they don't change things from the game that already work. Like that scene between him and Ellie in the bedroom is almost exactly the same, like word for word.
Yeah.
They make it their own, but like
it's freaking great. Is the bottom line.
It's a masterclass in adaptation.
It's really a great show. Yeah. He adds in a recent episode had the infected burst through the ground. When I saw that, it just seemed exactly like something they would have in the upcoming multiplayer Factions game. Hoping for a beta announcement soon. Maybe they do that at the PlayStation event coming this week.
I mean, it seems silly to not have any way to capitalize on The Last of Us hysteria right now. Like, people gonna want to try the game.
So short-sighted. Yeah.
Synergy, people.
Exactly. Grimshaw Rock. Seeing as Shane really likes the aesthetic and design of Elden Ring. Has he watched any playthroughs to see the rest of the game? Absolutely. I mean, I'll be honest with you. When Matt was playing it, I would come here, I'd get everything set up and ready for the show, and then I'd go down and I'd watch him play. And he was like in areas I had never ended up even seeing. So yeah, I've seen pretty much the bulk of the game, not all of it, but most of it. Yeah. And Matt was in these areas. Plus, you were like so overpowered. He was like just like one-shotting these gigantic bosses. Just like, you die. Now you die. Now you die. And I was just like, what the F is going on?
That's from games.
I'm like, how is this so effing easy? Like this far into the game?
It's hard to express my level in mere numbers.
It's great. So yeah, I've seen
transcended.
Yeah, it is crazy though how many bosses are in that game.
Yeah, how many of them are the same boss?
They are, but still, it's pretty crazy. I mean, considering we just talked about a game that's all about going after bosses, and it only had 15.
Yep.
And to be honest with you, I kind of think that game is kind of a boss rush game more than anything.
There's a lot of it. I mean, if you find an area where there's something to do, you're going to find some form of boss, even if it's just one of those little cat statues.
Right. Yeah.
But it's a little better probably in the end than like replaying Skyrim and some of those dungeons just end with nothing.
Yeah.
It's just like, oh, there's a chest with nothing useful or interesting in it, and now you got to leave.
Yeah.
And like
that's the worst.
Yeah.
That's what makes me quit playing games, stuff like that, if I'm already kind of like fading. Let's see. Mitchell is alive. Is there a game that you consider to have the gold standard of a great progression system, or what you recall to be the best? Wow, best progression system. That's tough. I mean, honestly, like, just coming off of Hogwarts Legacy, and again, I just finished it. I finished that before in way less time than it took me to finish God of War Ragnarok.
Mm-hmm.
Way less. Like, I was way more addicted to Hogwarts Legacy than I was God of War Ragnarok. But I would argue God of War has a pretty good progression system.
Yeah.
I think Hogwarts Legacy has a good progression system. I think
having played it again, Spider-Man has an excellent progression system.
Honestly, I think most games do. It feels like it's something that they've all figured out at this point. Very few. I'm almost caught off guard now when they don't have a great progression system. Like a couple of the games that we talked about today, for example.
Yeah.
But generally, I think most of them are pretty good now. JM Rain, thank you, brother, for Twitch Prime.
Yeah,
Hope you're doing good.
That like the skill tree stuff with Wanted Dead made me think of Dying Light too, where I was like, every option on the skill tree is boring.
I don't want it. I don't care. Yeah,
and I feel like I should already be able to do it.
Yeah,
from the start.
If Demon, I know you talked about several games, but what is your opinion as an event idea that Valve does it or dislike it? I don't understand the question.
The Next Fest or whatever.
Oh, the Next Fest.
Yeah. I thought it was pretty cool.
I think they could market it more.
Yeah, it could stand to be a little more transparent in what it is. Other than just like, oh, click on the thing and see what it is. I do also think it was a little too weighted towards the things that people ended up liking, if that makes any sense. Like, it was hard to go through and find stuff that wasn't just things that had gotten popular.
It's like you already knew the stuff that was bubbling up to the top, basically.
Yeah. And like, who knows if there's stuff in there that'd be to my taste that like isn't bubbling up to the top. But finding that was very difficult. It was a lot of chaff to sort through to get to the wheat.
I mean, there's like 200 demos.
Yeah, it was a lot.
That's insane.
But it was cool. I mean, I like it. It'll only get better as they keep doing it. Yeah. And I found some things I wouldn't have normally found. So it did its job. I think it was a success.
Okay. Not Sir, thank you for Twitch Prime. Let's have a Quantumania review.
Man.
Do you want to talk about it?
I thought it was fine.
Yeah, not as bad as people are saying.
No,
because people are trashing it online.
Even Sleeping Turtle, has he seen Ant-Man 3 is as bad as the last Thor movie? Last Thor movie was fine. It just wasn't as good as Ragnarok. Also, I think Ant-Man is better than probably Love and Thunder. I would rather watch Ant-Man again probably than Love and Thunder. Love and Thunder, I think got eviscerated a little bit in the editing room for some reason. I'm not sure why, because almost everyone working on that movie knows better than that. Ant-Man is fine. It's fine. It was good. I enjoyed it. I'll see it again. It was a lot of imagination on the screen, which is good. Even I thought Aquaman was one of the worst movies of the year, but every single frame of that movie is interesting to look at.
Yeah, for sure.
Which counts for something.
Yeah.
Like, I don't care about what's happening in Aquaman, but that octopus is playing the drums, and now Julie Andrews is voicing a kaiju. I don't even know what the fuck is happening anymore. But I'm just like, cool, done. I'm still here. I'm not falling asleep. That's for sure.
It feels like the MCU is struggling to find its second footing a little bit.
I don't think it is necessarily. I think it's just Act 1. They're in a rising action, and people are still high off of the end game, the big climax. And a lot of people came to the MCU late. They came to the. And I was telling some people oh yeah,
I don't remember
Kang,
what it was like in the beginning,
what's the deal with Kang? I'm like, Kang is building to the Kang Dynasty, which is going to be like kind of the Thanos thing. It's going to be the end of the multiverse sagas, Kang Dynasty and the Secret Wars. Secret Wars, I'm sure, is going to be based more on the 2015 one, where
are they going to do Secret Wars movies?
The Secret Wars is the after Avengers Kang Dynasty. The Avengers movie after that is Avengers Secret Wars. Which is not the Secret Wars you're thinking of.
Oh.
It's
like,
Secret Wars.
Damn.
Secret Wars. So
my 12-year-old
Secret Wars is
lost his mind.
Originally it's supposed to come out in the same year. So it's supposed to be Kang Dynasty in May 2025 and Secret Wars November 2025. Now that's been pushed. I think Kang Dynasty will end up in November, and
early in the year.
Secret Wars will be the next year. But Secret Wars will probably be based more on the 2015 one, which was when because they've already mentioned the planetary incursions from the multiverse. Basically, the entire multiverse collapses in on itself, and in order to save some element of it, Doom recreates the whole multiverse in one planet, which incorporates like almost every version of Marvel's universe you can imagine. Like there's sections of the world that have like Age of Apocalypse. There's one section that's the 92 animated Fox X-Men series. There's one that's like it's
crazy.
every alternate universe version has a place on this giant planet.
Wow.
Right? And over the course, and he's the god of the whole. He's God Doom. So I think Kang is going to play the role of God Doom in the MCU's Secret Wars after all this. I think that's what they're building to. And I told some people about, like, that's what's going to happen. So, like, Kang Dynasty is planned for, like, 2025. So, it'll probably be May or November 2025. And people are like, oh, my God, that's so far away. I'm like, dude, it was 6 years from showing Thanos for the first time to him doing anything.
It's true, yeah.
Like, so a lot of people, like, got in around, like, Civil War and don't realize how... I mean... The wait from now to Kang Dynasty is like half of how long is only twice as long as we waited between Infinity War and Endgame.
Yeah, people aren't paying attention as much.
And once the future stuff, once the later stuff is out for the multiverse saga, I think once you see where it's all going, I think people will look back at this last phase 4 and be like, oh, I see where the seeds were planted. I see where all those characters pay off into characters I really care about. So it's better to watching them now. Sort of like how it's easier for me to watch Fast and the Furious 2 now because I care about Roman in a way I didn't when I first saw that movie.
Yeah.
So I think that it's like people are going back saying like Thor 1 and Iron Man 2 are great now. And I'm like, come on. Like, I know because it's part of this whole thing you like, right? Yeah. So yeah, also the secret of the MCU is that it has a 3.2 GPA. Like it just turns in B minuses, B's, and B pluses all the time.
Every once in a while,
and we're like, cool. Every once in a while, you get that A plus, and you're like, oh wow, like that's why we're here. But usually, it's just sort of it's a solid B student, and that's better than what anyone else is managing to pull off on a regular basis. True. So like that's why it persists, is because you're always gonna be fine. Like the worst thing they've ever done, I think, is Thor: The Dark World, which I still would really only call like okay. Mm-hmm. Like I've never seen an MCU movie that I was just like, bleh, like I hate that.
Yeah.
Just like sort of like, like I wish, if I'm waiting for like months, but and it's also like Thor: The Dark World I also dislike because I'd waited like almost a year to see a new Marvel movie, and it was that.
Right.
And now I got to wait till next year to see like whatever the one after that. I think it was Captain America: Winter Soldier, which was amazing.
It was,
still one of the best ones. So
maybe my favorite.
I think it's not my favorite, but I think it might be the best made MCU movie.
It's pretty great.
Like it's just a really well crafted film.
Yeah. Even if you don't care about the characters.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's a great film.
So yeah, I think it'll all be okay.
Okay.
Meanwhile, let's hope James Gunn gives us a good Superman movie around in the same year as the Kang movie. Like that's going to be a big superhero year.
Yeah. And
I hope they get it right because I think either those things hit hard or they usher in the end. And my worst fear, because I believe the multiverse saga is going to be complete and then they're going to move on after planting a bunch of seeds currently, but they're going to move into the mutant saga. They're going to start doing the X-Men after that, like 2026 and onwards. And my worst fear is that like the wheels kind of come off the car. The hotness is gone in terms of like audience interest. Kevin Feige gets promoted to some sort of more overseer role of all of Disney Studios, and the X-Men movies suck again. Like that's my worst fear is like in terms of the MCU is that the X-Men movies are going to turn out to be mediocre again. Yeah. Because I really just want the X-Men to be done justice outside of like 2 movies in the X-Men 2 and First Class are pretty good, but it's like they never nailed it. I don't think they ever nailed the X-Men in the way that me, a lifelong X-Men fan, wanted to see them on the screen. And I'm just hoping the only good one we get is not just Deadpool 3. Because there's your Wolverine. You want to see Wolverine in the yellow spandex? You're going to see that in Deadpool 3, I guarantee you. Which is going to be rated R.
All right. JM Rain 99, thank you for gifting all the Tier 1 subs to people in our chat. Again,
JM Rain, making it Lesteved.
Yep, him.
Dark Pictures got delayed? Then I don't know what I'm going to play second.
Oh, no.
Maybe I'll play that stupid kayak thing. I don't know.
Squishy Muffin, what gen to gen transition was the biggest graphically for you guys? For me, it was PS2 and Xbox to PS3 and 360. I mean, there's no bigger leap than going from 2D to 3D.
PS1, N64 to Dreamcast. Like the refinement of that.
I mean, to me, it's going from Super Nintendo to N64.
Not to me, because I thought that 3D era looked like shit.
I mean, it does kind of.
I mean, it's impressive tech, but it didn't look good. To me, the biggest pop I've ever had in a new generation was seeing NFL 2K. NFL 2K, Sonic the Hedgehog with that tornado in the second level of Sonic Adventure. The jump to Dreamcast, where everything got like that kind of more refined, not HD, but like the jagged edges got taken off it a little bit. Like it was like, oh, that's what we're going to be looking at. And it was like, that was when you finally saw, oh, this is where we're going. As opposed to sort of a bunch of those PS1 games where you're just like, I get what you're after, but oh my God, I can't, they don't even have hands. Like, you know, like.
Yeah, to me, it was going from 2D to 3D. Easy. It was, I mean, I agree with you. Like, I remember I was playing NFL 2K, and my girlfriend at the time walked in, and she's like, why is there football on Tuesday night? Like, that, it was kind of that. But still, to me, the leap from going to 2D flat visuals to 3D, I hear you. Now, those games don't look that... But, dude, Super Mario 64 was fucking mind-blowing when it came out. It looked fucking amazing. Like, I don't think you're remembering what it was like.
I am absolutely remembering that.
Like, my mom, for example, I've told this story before. I don't know if I've ever told it on GameFace.
It was the gameplay on Mario 64 that blew me away. I was like, oh my God, this feels so good.
I mean,
and like, but I knew that it could look better.
It blew my mom's mind.
There were already PC games that looked better than that. With 3D cards.
Yeah, you had to really be in the loop and have a Voodoo 2 card.
I was.
It was really expensive.
And I did.
So did I. I still think... anyway, whatever.
I mean, technologically it's a bigger leap, but I thought the prettiest Super Nintendo games looked better than the prettiest early 3D games. I thought the jump to Dreamcast was the first time I was like, oh, wow, 3D on consoles, amazing. Because they were... I mean, you already had Unreal by that point on PC anyway. Yeah. But it was like... that. People also forget... how big the gap between PC and console was then.
It was like much bigger.
The idea of, I mean, PC dipshits used to whine about or like make fun of console people all the time. It's like, oh, I'm playing like Need for Speed Porsche Unleashed and it looks amazing. And everyone's like, it's like, yeah, but like we're playing this and it's great too.
I spent $200
right, I paid $200 to play GoldenEye. I'm sorry it doesn't look as good as Quake 2, but it's like, yeah, it's like.
That's always the big difference.
That was the price difference was then, which is kind of still there.
It's still there.
But I think that gap is way narrower now.
It is, because now we're spending $550 for consoles instead of $250. So
but at the same time, you're spending $1,500 for that game. You know, does Atomic Heart look that much better on my PC than it does on Series X? Not really.
It doesn't.
Not really.
It looks really good on Series X, though.
It does. It really does.
All right, that's it for GameFace 331. Before we go, though, we need to mention our sponsor, LS Cream. They are one of the finest liqueurs on the market, and best of all, it is made by a fellow sifter and a fellow gamer. So support people like us who are brave and they're going out and starting their own ventures, much like you guys have supported me and sifted through the years. As I mentioned earlier, it is inspired by an ancestral recipe from Haiti called cremas. I think I'm saying that right, at least I hope so. If you want to learn more about LS Cream, make sure you head to creamls.com. There's a store locator there where you can search for it, and you can find any place that you can buy it, both online or locally at a local store if you just want to pick it up for the night. Again, it's similar to Bailey's, but better than Bailey's. And I think once you get it and you do a little bit of research, you'll start to realize how many awesome drinks you can make with this liqueur. Because I think a lot of people think about liquor, Matt, and they're like, they remember doing a shot and going like, oh. But there's liqueur, like LS Cream, where you make these delicious, like, sugary, like, milk, chocolate drinks. And then, honestly, that's the kind of drinks my wife likes to drink. It's so funny.
Yeah, I figured shoot her for a big mudslide.
Yeah, we go out and I get vodka and Red Bull, and she gets some drink that takes, like, 10 minutes for the bartender to make. But they're delicious. I gotta get
the slushy machine out.
Exactly. I always take a sip of her drinks because they're freaking delicious. I don't drink them all night to, like, get drunk, but she does.
You take her to Hawaii and give her just lava flows all day.
Exactly. But that's what this is. Like, this is a liqueur that you will have in your liquor cabinet that you can mix with so many different things and make amazing drinks. Again.
Yeah, and like drinking it on its own, if it's cold, it's almost like a milkshake.
It is, yeah. Yep.
It's very thick. That's what I like about it. It's thick.
Yeah.
It holds its own.
That's right. So head to creamls.com to get your bottle or many bottles. A couple things before we go. If you're listening to this show on any of the podcast services or you're watching on YouTube and you want to support us, head to patreon.com/sifted. That's SIFTD without the E. You can pledge whatever you want there, as much per month as you want, and it'll just automatically charge you every month for whatever you pledge. If you don't have any money, you can help us with Twitch Prime. If you're watching the show on YouTube, the instructions to do that are down below. If you've already linked your Amazon account to your Twitch account, it literally takes 3 seconds. So please go do it. We have been stuck at this low amount for months. We can't go up, and that's after it dropped drastically from where it was before. And again, we really rely on this money to keep doing what we're doing. So again, it's free. If you're an Amazon Prime subscriber, it costs you nothing. Stick it to Amazon. Give us a free $2.50.
You see, Sterling just did a celebration of dropping below 800,000 subscribers.
Oh, really?
Below 800,000.
I love him. Or her. They. Was that on YouTube he dropped below 800?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
That's still a lot, man. That's so many people.
Yeah, but I think the peak was almost 1 million.
Oh, wow.
And, I mean, Sterling's been dropping since they came out as gender fluid or gender whatever. And then all the Hogwarts stuff it was a big spike.
Oh.
So I think I looked at the metrics and I think, I mean, you see it just sort of go, poof, like it's astounding.
Yeah.
But the views keep going up.
Yeah. So I remember back.
Everyone wants to watch and get mad, but they don't want to give them any money.
I remember when we were doing Invisible Walls, and it was like just killing it, like peaking. Like we'd do 130,000 views per episode or something like that. I remember my girlfriend at the time, before we were married, my wife now, we went to a football game. And I remember I was sitting there, and there was like 60 or 70,000 people in the stadium. And I remember just sitting there and just looking at the amount of people, and it literally blew my mind. I was like, twice the number of people in this stadium are watching our show every week. I couldn't even comprehend it. I was like, it was like the first moment where it struck me how big game trailers had become. I was like, because there's just so many effing people. And it was double that every week that were watching that show. And I was just like taken aback by it. And I was like, I said to my wife now, I was like, double this amount of people watch my show. Can you believe that? And she was like, no.
No, I don't.
I cannot believe it. She wouldn't.
No.
And I'm like, I'm telling you, 120,000 people watch Invisible Walls every week. And she's like, that's insane, Shane. And it's nothing. He has 800,000 subscribers, and that's nothing to a lot of people. It's just crazy how the scale has changed. It's really mind-blowing. Like you're bringing up, he dropped below 800,000. That's crazy that he has 800,000 subscribers. It's nuts. So people are always like, what's going on? Where is everything going? There's where it's going. That's where it all went. It's nuts.
Yeah, why are people not being paid to write game reviews on websites anymore? Because it's all there now.
Yeah, they're all going there. Yep. So anyway, that's it for GameFace 331. Do not forget, the show is not happening next Tuesday. And make sure you follow us on Twitter at Sifted Games so you know when 332 is going to happen. Probably Wednesday, maybe Thursday of next week. But I am going home to celebrate the life of one of my very best friends. And I got to do it. So I will not be back in LA until Monday. And we'll get the show out to you guys as soon as we can. So I hope you guys have a great week. Much love to all you guys for all your support. GameFace is up and out.